person fondly remembered here. Joined the club at the age of 15, joined the youth setup in 1985. 228 goals and 228 appearances and 59 goals. And I'm sure similar tributes will be paid at his former clubs as well, also on this opening day of the Premier League at Nottingham Forest and Everton. As now both sets of players take the knee. No room for racism is the message from the Premier League. Incidentally, the Premier League has a dedicated team to tackle online abuse. Last season, there were over 1,500 investigations, as the message is loud and clear as far as the Premier League is concerned. We're underway. You're listening to BBC Radio 5 Live. We're also available on BBC Sounds. Arsenal in their red and white shirts and white shorts are playing from left to right as we look. And Wolves in those golden shirts and black shorts as Sarr clears the ball away long, away towards our right. And the Wolves supporters also were joining in that fulsome tribute to Super Kevin Campbell.
What can you say that hasn't already been said? What a fantastic human being that Kevin was. We're fortunate enough to play against him for a very short period and spend a lot of time with him in the media career. And every time you come across Kevin Campbell, he brightened up a room. Every room that he walked into, he gave energy. And he was just an incredible human being and will be sadly missed.
And a regular voice on the 5 Live Friday Night Social with Darren Fletcher, as Chesterfield have taken an early lead in League 2. Crewe 0, Chesterfield 1 is the latest score. New season, but nothing has changed. 5 Live, BBC Sound still has more live Premier League games than anyone else. And as you know, on a Saturday afternoon, it can be fast and frenetic on 5 Live. We'll keep you in touch with the goals as they go in, here, there and everywhere, as well as trying not to miss anything that happens in our featured game. But very much London calling as far as the new Premier League season is concerned. We're at Arsenal, West Ham later, and then tomorrow Brentford and Chelsea are our two venues for our two live commentaries as part of 5 Live's Premier League Sundays. Aït-Nouri's over the halfway line, holds on to the ball, and then Lamina will hit the ball early. Hwang's going to go out towards the right. Imagine then they're looking for the supporting run of Bellegarde to try and offer support to Larson.
Well, we're trying to work out what Wolves are going to do before the game. They've played a back three in pre-season, but it's quite obviously a back four today. With Mosquera, Aït-Nouri at left back, Mosquera, Gomez and Doherty at right back. And it's Rodrigo Gomez, the new signing. We're interested to see where he plays, but he sits on this left side of midfield just in front of left full-back Aït-Nouri, and it's Bellegarde who's going to act as a 10 with Hwang playing on the right-hand side, cutting in.
That's the voice of Paul Robinson here at the Emirates as Wolves just tidy up and the ball goes back from Totti towards Jose Sarr. Rodrigo Gomez, he's a 21-year-old, a Portuguese under-21 international who they signed for just under £13 million from Braga, a 5-year deal. Of course, it's a Wolverhampton Wanderers side that has lost Neto and has lost Kilman. And Gary O'Neill will hope that maybe he can further strengthen his squad between now and August the 30th as Wolves lose the ball in the midfield, and Martinelli scampers away from one challenge, and then Jared Gillett actually gives a free kick as the Brazilian was fouled inside the centre circle in the sunshine on this baking hot day in the capital. 0-0 in the early stages.
Yeah, he just catches him there. Arsenal having the lion's share of the possession at the moment. Started pretty dominantly, as you would expect, fully camped in the Wolves half. It's going to be interesting to see Odegaard, Partey, Rice, Martinelli, Saka, the interchange, the fluidity. There's no real set positions. Odegaard on the ball now, drifting infield, but Martinelli is predominantly out on that left-hand side.
Here is Zinchenko at left back, out to Martinelli far side, in front of the away section here at the Emirates. Sends over a cross, takes a deflection from Doherty, former Tottenham player. And it goes behind for an Arsenal corner kick. Been a good start in these early exchanges for the home team.
Yeah, the game's taken shape. I mean, this early on, as you would expect, Arsenal at home, you'd expect them to be dominant. Wolves sitting deep in the lower block, looking to hit Arsenal on the break with the pace that they might have, with Larson being that figurehead of a striker, number 9. Interesting to see here from the defensive setup. Wolves have got every single player bar 3 inside the 6-yard box defending the goal.
It's extremely congested. Bristol City, incidentally, had taken the lead at home to Millwall at Ashton Gate. So corner kick to Arsenal, far side the left. It's an in-swinger that Sarr punches away in that extremely congested 6-yard area. And then Hwang seemed to jump into Odegaard. The Arsenal supporters weren't happy about that as Bellegarde wriggles free and the ball is put out of play for a throw on the far side. And we welcome Listeners to the BBC World Service, wherever you are in the world, it is a pleasure to have your company here on the opening day of the Premier League season, where it is Arsenal 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. Earlier in the top flight, after an absence of 22 years, Ipswich Town 0, Liverpool 2. On the other side of Stanley Park, how are Everton faring in the early exchanges against Brighton, Masfarouki?
Well, they thought they had an early goal here against Brighton. Jack Harrison with the ball in the back of the net, but the offside flag was up, and he had a decent save as well. Forced a decent save from Jason Steele just before that. Good start for Everton, but 0-0.
Doherty with a shot inside the penalty area that has winded Gabriel, who's gone down inside the penalty area away towards our left. Mansfield Town are leading Burton by a 1-0. Mansfield, their first home game in the third tier since 2003, and an early goal for Nigel Clough's side. Magic weekend in the Rugby League. Matt Newsom.
Yeah, Hull 4, London 12. Another score for the Broncos, who are really game today. Kick into the corner, looked like it was going nowhere. Flick offloads from Josh Rourke, and then Hakim Maludi put Jack Campagnolo across. Hull 4, London 12.
Goal in the Championship, it's at Bramall Lane. Charlie Slater.
6 minutes gone, Sheffield United in front. Gustavo Harmer 18 yards out, finds the bottom corner of the net. Great start, Sheffield United 1, QPR 0.
Chris Wilder's team have certainly hit the ground running after their relegation from the Premier League. The results earlier in the three early kickoffs in the Championship: Derby 1, Middlesbrough 0, Portsmouth 0, the 10 men of Luton Town 0, West Bromwich Albion 0, Leeds United 0. As the ball goes back to Sarr, and I thought for a minute he'd left it a little bit too long before Ødegaard could close him down, and then he cleared it away at the last minute, but he just offered him a little glimpse, and that was why there was the ooh and the ah from the crowd in the background.
Certainly was. Ødegaard pressing high. You can see what Arsenal are going to do. They're going to set traps for Wolves. Wolves want to play out from the back. Arsenal will let them to a certain point, but then there's a trigger, whether it's Havertz, whether it's Ødegaard. One of the Arsenal players will press, and then they press as a team.
Yerson Mosquera marshals the ball safely back to Jose Sarr. It's his Premier League debut for the Colombian defender, spent last season on loan at Villarreal. Update in the cricket, the 100, Melissa Story.
Well, the Invincibles, they're 4 wickets down now, losing quick successive wickets of internationals Marizine Kapp and Alice Capsey. After 80 balls, the Invincibles 84 runs on the board.
Commentary on Sports Extra. It's also live on BBC Two. This is 5 Live and BBC Sounds. We're at the Emirates, 0-0. Been playing for just over 5 minutes as Saka gets the ball away from Aït-Nouri. Diagonal ball in field. This is Rice, who'd got forward on the edge of the area and then lost it just at the last moment. Tries to win it back, but it will be able to be cleared on this near side. In fact, João Gomez will just turn and hold on to the ball, and back behind him is Totti, who eventually can actually play the ball back to Jose Sarr, but Arsenal are pressing high.
And already we're seeing Declan Rice in more advanced positions than at times we may have seen him in last season. With Thomas Partey in the team, there's Ødegaard and Rice. They're actually been allowed to go a little bit further forward, knowing that they've got Partey there in behind them that will sit as that deep pivot.
Burton Albion have equalised at Mansfield Town. That's in League One. Mansfield 1, Burton 1, and Reading have taken a lead at home to Wigan Athletic, also in that division. To the City Ground now, the Premier League, Pat Murphy.
It's 0-0, Forest Bournemouth. You can tell it's early season, players crashing into each other, testosterone all over the place in the bright sunshine. Just now Danilo and Semenyo down, getting treatment after one of several collisions so far. Forest 0, Bournemouth 0.
Thank you, Pat. Ball put out of play. Mikel Arteta, who's once again all in black, matching that jet black hairstyle of his, animated as ever on the touchline, keeping his side motivated, although that was a rather unusual tactic, wasn't it, to bring in professional pickpocketers for a team dinner and then telling his team to empty their pockets. That was a nice little flick by Ødegaard to release Havertz, and Havertz enters the penalty area. Havertz still going, losing his balance, falling over. No penalty, says the referee. Partey plays the early ball forward. This is Rice on the edge of the box, now towards Martinelli. Back towards Rice, left corner of the penalty area. In the sunshine, red and white shirts, 0-0. 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Gabriel out towards Zinchenko, too far ahead of him. I hope they've got their phones and wallets back.
Well, I think he's unlucky there, is Havertz. He's still talking to the referee, wanting a penalty. I think he got on the wrong side of Lamina, got into the penalty box, and Lamina put in a tackle where he run the risk of giving away a penalty. We don't have monitors here, so we're not privy to replays, but at first glance, I thought he was unlucky.
A lot of goals in League One in the early stages. Northampton 0, Exeter City 1, and another goal in the Championship. This time it is at Turf Moor.
It's Burnley 1, Cardiff 0. Extraordinary goal for Burnley. It was a simple back pass by Dimitrios Goutas, and I'm afraid a horrible mistake by Ethan Horvath, who just let the ball, miscontrolled it, let it go into the net. It's Burnley 1, Cardiff 0.
Thank you, Shojo Saka at Turf Moor today for us, in front of those rolling East Lancashire hills, as the ball is played back to White. Partey, Saka, Ødegaard. Nice tempo about Arsenal in these early stages. Out it goes towards that far side. Gabriel touches the ball forward to Martinelli, head down, running forward. In that inverted role is Zinchenko. Spreads play out to this near side, the right, in front of the main stand level with the penalty area. Saka onto his left foot, curling ball, dropping deep, headed away by Wolves, pushed there by Zinchenko. Back to Goodison we go, Masfarouki.
Breathless start here. McNeil looked certain to score with a cutback from Decore, but could only hit the right post and then put the follow-up wide. And then João Pedro hit the left post at the other end. Somehow, though, it's still 0-0.
Chesterfield have got a second as well at Gresty Road. Crewe 0, Chesterfield 2 in League 2. It's the third time that these sides have met on the opening day of a top-flight campaign. Wolves have won them both previously, albeit 1946 and 1963.
I was going to say it's been a while since Wolves have won here. I think they've got a really good record against Wolves of Arsenal. Wolves have 33 games without a clean sheet against Arsenal, the longest against anybody in the league. So it's if you look at the stats on today's game, they're heavily stacked in Arsenal's favour.
Somebody's been doing their homework. Paul Bradshaw, the last Wolverhampton Wanderers goalkeeper to keep a clean sheet in that game in 1979 at Highbury. From North London to the North East, John Bennett.
Newcastle 0, Southampton 0. Really confident start though by Southampton. They had a goal disallowed. Jack Stevens tapping it in from a small bone cross, but the flag was up. Newcastle 0, Southampton 0.
0-0 here as well, as Arsenal with Gabriel at the back. Of course, they took Manchester City to the very last day of last season, hoping that they could maybe win the title. It wasn't to be, but they have certainly improved season on season under Mikel Arteta. 2023 runners-up, 5 points behind Manchester City. Last season it was just the 2. Looking to get off to a winning start here as Zinchenko loses the ball in the midfield, just brushed off it far too easily. Bellegarde on that far side, the Wolves' right. Back then to Doherty. Never really worked out for him, did it, at your former club, Tottenham?
Didn't really get an opportunity, did he? I think in the Wolves side that he was playing in a back five, really established himself as a right wing back. Didn't really get an opportunity at Tottenham, didn't get a run in the team, played a back four and he didn't fit in, regardless of whatever manager it was. But I think since he's gone back to Wolves, he's found himself as a regular.
Chesterfield have hit a third goal, so that's 3 goals in the opening 12 minutes. Crewe 0, Chesterfield 3, latest score in League 2. Good atmosphere inside the Emirates as the ball is played forward to White on this near side, the right. Out of play goes for an Arsenal throw. Another goal at Bramall Lane, Charlie Slater.
Where Sheffield United are 2-0 in front. Brilliant break down the left. Harmer turns provider, sticks the ball across the 6-yard box, and Kiefer Moore taps in at the back post. 2-0 to Sheffield United.
Gabriel, midway through the Wolves half, passes the ball out towards that far side. Martinelli on the left waits. Rice is in close attendance. Wolves have got a lot of the golden shirts back, trying to keep Arsenal at bay. They get it away only partially to Partey. It's a square ball. White to shoot. It took a deflection, actually meant the ball was on the rise, and it was around head height for Sarr to make the save. Back to Forest, Pat Murphy.
We've had a delay of at least 5 minutes here now after that collision between Semenyo of Bournemouth and Danilo of Nottingham Forest, and Danilo has come off worse. He's now been taken off on a stretcher, surrounded by around 10 medical and security staff. We do not know the extent of the injury because, commendably, a protective curtain was placed around the injured player on the centre circle. But Danilo has now been carried off on the stretcher to sympathetic applause from both sets of supporters and the Bournemouth players, commendably. Semenyo only seems to have an injury to his shoulder after an innocuous challenge. So that's a blow to Forest early in this season. Forest 0, Bournemouth 0.
Thank you, Pat. We wish him well as well. Saka with a low left-footed shot. Sarr made the save. It was a comfortable one, though, for the keeper.
Comfortable save for Jose Sarr. His positioning allowed him to make the save. What Saka does really well, he cuts in from this right-hand side onto his left foot. Instead of going for the far post, he reverses it into the near post. But the goalkeeper put himself in a really good position and was able to gather the ball in.
In the Scottish League Cup second round, our featured game is Aberdeen against Queen's Park at Pittodrie, but Dundee are leading Airdrie by 1-0, and Bristol City have got a second goal at home to Millwall in the Championship. In League One, it's Lincoln City 0, Barnsley 1, and you're up to date with the goals as they go in on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds. This is the Premier League, the first of 4 commentaries over the weekend. Martinelli far side the left, back with Zinchenko. Gabriel, Saliba now, along with Kilman, who of course last season was playing for Wolves. Kilman and Saliba were the only outfield players to have played in every minute of the Premier League campaign. He's such a key figure for Arsenal as they work it down the pitch. And now with Rice, out to Martinelli on the left. Rice has continued that run into the box. Martinelli picks out Partey. He misses it, White doesn't, but slashes it wide right-footed off target.
Well, it was brilliant by Martinelli, and then it ended in a comedy of errors, didn't it? Martinelli does really well there on the left-hand side, gets to the edge of the box, rolls it into Thomas Partey's path, and you think, go on then, hit it. He goes to hit it, he completely misses his kick. It rolls through his legs, almost like a step over, which puts Ben White through, who completely misses his kick and almost hits the corner flag.
It'll be interesting whether, when Lee Carsley names his first England squad at the end of the month, whether Ben White is back in the international fold.
Well, there was an issue there, wasn't there? Clearly an issue there. I mean, the timing of his making himself available again, I think that tells you all that you needed to know, doesn't it, really?
Accrington 0, Harrogate Town 1 is the latest score in League 2. Wolves in possession. Just gone 3:15 this Saturday afternoon, as the ball is played back by Lamina, the Wolves captain, to Jose Sarr. He picked up a back injury in the corresponding fixture here last December. Actually left the field at around the 23-minute part to be replaced by Bentley, who Arsenal are actually trying to sign. They've had a bid rejected for the Wolves' second-string goalkeeper. Newcastle United Southampton, latest now from John Bennett.
It's 0-0, but the Southampton boss, Russell Martin, really pleased with the start his team is making. They're knocking the ball about really well, and they're really testing Newcastle in the early stages. Newcastle 0, Southampton 0.
And to Goodison Park, Mas Faruqi.
Yakubu Minteh has got some pace and he's using it, the new Brighton signing down the right-hand side. Brighton coming into this a lot more in the last couple of minutes. Remember, both sides have hit the post, but it's still Everton 0, Brighton 0.
Jose Sarr chips the ball long for Wolves, over the head of Doherty, on his tiptoes, out for an Arsenal throw. Zinchenko wants to take it quickly. What have you made then of the opening quarter of an hour or so?
Pretty much as expected, Deno, in all honesty. When you see Arsenal at home line up against the Wolves team who had a poor finish to last season, you look at the players that they've lost Kilman and Neto to Chelsea, two of their mainstays, if you like, and they haven't really replaced them. They haven't got the budget to replace them. Wolves have been very sacrificial in possession, allowing Arsenal the dominance with possession, pretty much camped in the Wolves half. Wolves are sitting with a low block. It's going to be up to Arsenal to see how quickly they can move the ball, see how quickly they can move this defence and midfield around that are sitting deep and pick holes.
This is Ødegaard on the right-hand side, plays it infield, square pass. Partey plays it to the right-back, White. Ødegaard has stayed on this near side, the right, and now just runs infield, then creates a bit of room for White to make a run down the right touchline, strokes it along the ground towards Saka, holds off the challenge, ball in towards Havertz, comes to Saka, hits it first time right-footed, and it was saved by Sarr. Back to Nottingham Forest, Pat Murphy.
It's still 0-0 here. We've only played around 7 minutes because of that distressing injury to Danilo, carried off on the stretcher, landed awkwardly after an aerial duel with Semenyo. We'll keep you posted on this progress. It's Forest 0, Bournemouth 0.
Don't forget Match of the Day tonight, celebrating its 60th anniversary, 10:20 on BBC One. Saka in the penalty area for Arsenal. Rice hits it first time, just inside the box, central area. He was looking for a corner, but Jared Gillett, the referee, has said it's a goal kick.
Again, Ødegaard's a link to everything, isn't he? He's very, very fluid in his positioning, moving across this midfield, linking up with Rice, with Havertz, with Saka, Martinelli, and the interchange between the Arsenal front 3 or 4 players is what's going to cause Wolves problems this afternoon. They're already struggling, Wolves. You know, the goalkeeper's taking his time. You can hear this Arsenal crowd in the background already booing him for time wasting, and it is going to be a little bit like that unless Wolves can offer anything else this afternoon.
You're right about the position of Declan Rice, though, aren't you, with that insurance that Thomas Partey provides?
He's a lot higher up the pitch, isn't he? Quite obviously already. Thomas Partey's there, sat in front of Gabriel and Saliba. Quite noticeably, we were sat high up on the gantry here at the Emirates, and you can see Ødegaard and Declan Rice in much more advanced positions than Partey.
Not a cloud in the sky in North London, as Ødegaard just plays the ball back. Gabriel back to his goalkeeper, David Raya. Won the Golden Glove Award in the Premier League last season for 16 clean sheets. Of course, is signed permanently now from that initial loan from Brentford. They play across the back. Wolves try to press, but they've beaten the press, and White's certainly got a lot of room to run into on this near side, the right. He finds Saka, and there was a foul there from Aït-Nouri. Half-time in the Rugby League now, Matt Newsom.
Yeah, Hull 4, London 12, and the Super League's bottom club playing very well in that first half, deserving their lead. Josh Rourke and Jack Campagnolo scoring for them. Lewis Martin for Hull, deserved lead for London. Hull 4, London 12.
Here is Havertz outside the penalty area. Ødegaard, Rice on the left. Oh, the cross took a deflection, and Sarr all of a sudden had to get down quite sharply to his right. Went into the side netting, but nevertheless it's a corner.
There's another example. Declan Rice popping up on the left wing. Ødegaard again at the heart of everything that Arsenal are doing. Rice on the overlap on the outside on the left hand side, puts the cross in with his left foot, takes a deflection, almost does Jose Sarr at his near post.
And once again, Wolves have just loaded that 6-yard box with their own shirts, and at the minute there isn't an Arsenal player inside that 6-yard box. They're just gathering and lurking at the outside. Now there is.
Well, they're clearly zonal marking, but the zonal marking almost the whole of the 6-yard box. As we speak now, there is only 2 outfield Wolves players that are not in the 6-yard box, but they're both in the 18-yard box.
Corner kick on that far side, the left. It's an in-swinger in towards the near post. That was an awkward one for Sarr. I think he felt that as well on his shoulder. He sprung back quickly to his feet. Doherty tries and lead a counter-attack and didn't keep the ball in play, and it will be a Wolves throw on this near side. Meanwhile, in the Championship, there's been a goal at Carrow Road. Paul Scott.
20 minutes on the clock. It is Norwich 0, Blackburn 1. The visitors scoring against the run of play. Maktar Gueye picking up the ball, Hedges on the overlap. A lovely dinked finish over the on-rushing Angus Gunn. Norwich 0, Blackburn 1.
Tell you what, your old side are banging in the goals, aren't they? That's their 11th goal already. They scored 10 in the first 2.
They are, yeah, absolutely. And they lost their star striker as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
So it'll be an interesting season. They've got to have a better season than last season, surely.
Well, certainly under John Eustace, they've hit their stride. Have Blackburn Rovers. So far in the 3 o'clock games in the Premier League, we're yet to have a goal, either here at Arsenal, Everton, Newcastle, or Nottingham Forest. And then, of course, after Sports Report 5:30, we've got John Murray and Steve Sidwell giving us commentary of West Ham United against Aston Villa. White hits the ball early and high downfield. Martinelli drops to his feet, tries to turn, look for handball. Not awarded against João Gomez, as Bellegarde passes the ball out now to Rodrigo Gomez, the Wolves debutant on this near side, the left, sends over a cross, and it was angled over the near post and drifted out for a goal kick.
Wolves' ventures into the final third of the Arsenal defensive third have been few and far between, and when they do get opportunities like that, the quality's got to be better. You signing Rodrigo Gomez playing on this left-hand side does get the better of Ben White, gets inside the box, and then it's just a careless cross. It's neither a cross nor shot, and it sails harmlessly over David Raya's crossbar.
Birmingham City are in the third tier for the first time since 1995. They've conceded at Wickham. Wickham lead Birmingham then by a 0-0 as Martinelli picks it up and runs forward, and then he's scythed down by João Gomez. That'll be a free kick. Quick update at Newcastle, John Bennett.
It's 0-0, but Southampton have picked up where they left off in the Championship, dominating possession, and Adam Armstrong has just had a shot over. Newcastle 0, Southampton 0.
And predictably, João Gomez, that is, has just been booked by referee Jared Gillett, and I don't think he can have any complaints.
Keeping up with the Gomezes. We've got a few Gomezes today, haven't we? Certainly can't have any complaints about that. It was quite an obvious foul of Martinelli. He was away from him, wasn't he? Got the wrong side.
I'm just going to call Totti that rather than Totti Gomez.
Right, okay. So that just leaves us 2.
Yeah, makes it a bit easier. There's a free kick here to Arsenal that Ødegaard is placing down on that far side, the left. And Jared Gillett walks away. Quite a high line from Wolves that have provided on the edge of the penalty area. Ødegaard just waits. He's not happy. There's actually 4 Arsenal players who are currently standing in an offside position inside the box.
Martinelli's still struggling on the far side. Look, he's really hurt his hip. Ødegaard's waiting to put the ball in the box, but Martinelli's gone back down to ground.
There are 7 Wolves shirts on the edge of the penalty area. Going straight to Nottingham Forest after this. Down the line it goes towards Martinelli. Martinelli now looks a little bit more sprightly on the left. Back towards Ødegaard, edge of the area. Ødegaard towards Martinelli. Round the back he goes. Sends over the cross. Blocked. So a goal at Nottingham Forest. Pat Murphy.
Goal to Forest. Chris Wood began the move. went to Yates, the substitute, on for Danilo, fumbled by the keeper Neto, routine finish for Wood. Forest 1, Bournemouth 0.
Nuno Espirito Santo, as the cross comes in from Saka, and it's a brilliant header. Kai Havertz on the end of it, and Arsenal take the lead. Perfectly flighted from the right-hand side, and Havertz, who scored 14 goals last season, has opened his account for the new campaign.
Great header by Havertz, and it's a fantastic ball from this right-hand side by Saka again. How many times do we see him do this? Checks back onto his left foot. This time the cross is inch perfect, whipped into that near post. Havertz times his run to perfection, meets it with a clear header. Nothing Jose Sarr can do. Great flight from Saka, clear header from Havertz. Arsenal 1 up, nothing more than they deserve.
An in-swinging cross that must be so awkward to defend.
Perfect, absolutely perfect from Saka, just into that area. Goalkeeper Sarr can't come. The defenders don't want to touch it because they know it's going into their own net if they do. Havertz glides in between the two centre-halves. It's not a glancing header, it's a full header straight in, straight past the goalkeeper. Really well crafted goal by Arsenal.
The goals are flying in now on 5 Live in the Premier League as we go straight to Everton and Masfarouki.
Wonderful goal from Brighton. Lovely team who haven't seen much of them but so far in this match, but started and finished by Matoma. New signing Minter involved as well down the right-hand side. Everton 0, Brighton 1.
Now here's an interesting fact about those two. The team scoring first in the Premier League has never lost. And there's been 10 wins and 3 draws when Everton and Brighton for that sequence. Will it be continued here today as Brighton have the lead at Goodison? Newcastle 0, Southampton 0. Nottingham Forest 1, Bournemouth 0. And now a goal in League One. It's our featured game at Huddersfield. Ellen Ellard.
Huddersfield 1, Stevenage 0. It's a beautiful diving header from Jos Karoma. Ball whipped into the area. A bullet past Murphy Cooper has not looked confident at all in the Stevenage goal. Huddersfield 1, Stevenage 0.
Just before Saka sent over the cross, I was going to give you a statistic about Nuno Espirito Santo, that he's actually never lost on the opening day as a manager. He'll be looking to see if he can extend that into to 12 campaigns with his side leading Bournemouth by 1-0. You're listening to 5 Live and BBC Sounds. We're approaching 3:30 this Saturday afternoon as though we're in the 27th minute and Arsenal are leading by 1-0. João Gomez picks it up, drives forward for Wolves. Bellegarde outside the deep, fouled, direct free kick to Wolves, 25 yards out, fractionally right of centre.
Yeah, clumsy by Gabriel. Does really well there, Bellegarde. Gets himself in the hole in between defenders and midfielders, and he just comes out, Gabriel, and he's just a little bit clumsy. A shooting position, probably maybe a little bit too far. I think might just be on the edge of his range this far out. David Ray will be disappointed if he gets beaten from here, just assembling his wall. But I think that's a goal that this game needed. I think from an Arsenal's point of view, the pressure that they had, they needed to convert that. And from a neutral's point of view, Wolves have now got to come out. They've got to come out and offer more than they did in the first 25 minutes.
Well, the two likely takers here for Wolverhampton Wanderers are Bellegarde or Ait-Nouri. In fact, Bellegarde has just moved the ball back just a matter of inches. There are at least 6 in the wall for Arsenal just inside the penalty area. It's right of centre. It's a good 25 yards out from goal.
Left a big hole to his left, David Raya.
Certainly has. Bellegarde waits. Ait-Nouri is also eyeing it up too. There's the referee's whistle. It will be Bellegarde. Strikes it right-footed and over the top of the crossbar it goes, out for a goal kick. Arsenal still lead by 1-0. No goals at St James's Park, but there has been a sending off. John Bennett.
Newcastle are down to 10 men. Fabian Schär sent off what looked like a headbutt on Ben Brereton Diaz, who went down. Brereton Diaz booked, but Schär sent off. Newcastle 0, Southampton 0.
And if I was with Chris Waddle now, he'd be saying if only he could turn back time.
Very good.
Chesterfield have hit a 4. Crewe 0, Chesterfield 4 is the latest score in League Two. But a real feel-good factor about the place here today, isn't there?
Well, there has been towards the end of last season, hasn't there? I mean, you look at where they've been before this game. Arsenal have won 16 out of the last 18 Premier League games in 2024, drawing 1 and losing 1, a win ratio of 89%. So this crowd have got a lot to be pleased about at the moment.
Yeah, they have. An update now on the 100. Melissa Story.
London Spirit need to chase down 114 for victory from their 100 balls to meet Welsh Fire in the final tomorrow at Lord's. Alice Capsey top scoring for the Invincibles with 30, whilst England's Charlie Dean took 3 wickets. 114 the score to chase.
Live on BBC Two, commentary continues on Sports Extra. No other goals elsewhere around the country. Gary O'Neill is just having a word with the fourth official down below, who's Gavin Ward. But Wolves have, well, yet to really test Riot.
They have. They've not really started. I mean, they were never going to come here and dominate the game, but they haven't offered a lot going into the Arsenal final third. Not really created many chances, and it's going to be a tough start for them. We touched on them losing Kilman, losing Neto, and you look at the way that they finished last season, and their first 6 or 7 games of this season are really, really tough if you look at Wolves' fixtures. Yeah,
extremely daunting start. Bellegarde on this near side to left, looks to go on the outside of Partey, gets a foot into the challenge, wraps his leg around Bellegarde to keep the ball in play, and then it actually comes off the legs of Aït-Nouri and goes out for an Arsenal throw-in deep inside their own half. Those desire levels certainly extremely high for Arsenal. Paul rattled through that impressive set of statistics towards the end of the last season, the second half of the campaign. They basically collected 49 points out of 54, and still they fell short. Manchester City have set the bar high. Arsenal are looking to try and match them. As Saka with the assist now releases the goal scorer Havertz. 2 going through the middle. Saka and Martinelli. Saka latches onto it inside the penalty area, then goes down. Tried to chop back onto his left foot. Challenge came in from Totti. Seemed to be impeded, but referee Jared Gillett had a good view of that. Now let's see about the VAR, because you're going to hear a lot about referee's call. And the VAR, who's Paul Tierney, because Jared Gillett couldn't have been better positioned.
Well, the referees just waved it away immediately, so the VAR has been quick in response, but from the naked eye there, Saka gets the wrong side of Totti, cuts back, and there's no reason that Saka would go down unless he is caught. But obviously the VAR didn't seem enough to overturn the referee's call, as you say, Deno.
Accrington Stanley 1, Harrogate 1, so an equaliser for the home side. Newport County 0, Doncaster Rovers 1 is a latest also in League 2. Birmingham have equalised at Wycombe. Wycombe 1, Birmingham City 1. And Burnley, there's been another goal. Shojo Saka.
Burnley 2, Cardiff 0. Jay Rodriguez with really good work down the right. His cross was touched by Josh Brownhill, but the finish from Luca Koleosho. It is Burnley 2, Cardiff 0.
They sold Odegaard to Tottenham, but the feeling is that Burnley might have to have further departures to try and comply with the profit and sustainability rules between now and the deadline day on the 30th of August, as Raya strokes the ball to Saliba and back then to his goalkeeper. But Arsenal in control. Complete control.
You look at the statistics in possession in the final third. Arsenal, as you would expect here at home against Wolves, very, very comfortable, moving the ball around really well. The interchanging between Odegaard, Partey and Rice has been impressive. Like we said, Declan Rice playing a lot higher up the pitch, and he's playing left of the 3. Thomas Partey's playing the deepest in the middle. Odegaard's on the right-hand side predominantly, but he has been allowed the fluidity to move in and out wherever he likes. But Declan Rice is more structured down that left-hand side.
That's the voice of the former England international, Paul Robinson. This is the voice of Pat Murphy, who's witnessed another goal.
Equaliser for Bournemouth, a well-worked short corner involving Lewis Cook. Ball not properly cleared, and there was Dango Woutara that lashed in from 6 yards. Forest 1, Bournemouth 1.
So 1-1 at the City Ground. Newcastle down to 10 men, 0-0 with Southampton. Everton 0, Brighton and Hove Albion 1. And here Arsenal lead by a goal to 0. And Ipswich Town 0, Liverpool 2 was the result in the early kick-off. After an absence of 22 years, they play Liverpool at home, and then the small matter of a trip to Manchester City next weekend. As White tidies up and goes back to Raya, and now White collects the ball from his keeper in the shadows of the main stand here at the Emirates. Saliba makes himself available, and it's a 10-yard pass in field. Zinchenko now takes it off him in a central area midway through the Arsenal half, and Zinchenko waits. As hardly mentioned Hwang on that right-hand side, have we, for Wolverhampton Wanderers?
Been quiet, hasn't he? I think they've been that concentrated in sitting in possession position, if you like, out of possession. They're quite happy to let Arsenal have the ball when Arsenal have got it in their own half. As we've seen, it's clearly something that they've worked on, but they're very, very deep, this Wolves defence. It's a back four, and already they're dropping towards the edge of the 18-yard box midway through their own half. As soon as Arsenal enter into their half, you'd like to see them press higher and give a little bit more impression onto this Arsenal team higher up the field.
Harrogate Town are back in front. Simon Weaver's side now lead at Accrington by 2-1. Partey was just tripped. Bellegarde is being spoken to by the referee, Jared Gillett. Arsenal tried to take the free kick, but because he was still in discussions with a Wolverhampton player, it meant that free kick is going to have to be retaken inside the centre circle as we have 10 minutes to go to half-time. 5 Live, BBC Sounds and the World Service on the opening day of the Premier League season, where Arsenal lead Wolves by 1-0. Here is Saliba inside that centre circle, given away cheaply under pressure from Larsen, making his debut, the Norwegian striker, after arriving from Celta Vigo on loan. Ball goes infield into the penalty area, in fact, and Zinchenko steps out and brings it clear. Then they lose the ball in the midfield. Hwang now delivers the cross, and there is Larsen with a header, and Raya with an excellent save.
Oh, that's a brilliant save. Brilliant save. Larsen there with his head in his hands. David Raya's had nothing to do all game. He's been a complete spectator. It's a fantastic ball in from the right-hand side from Hwang. Outswinger straight onto Larsen's head. Free header from 6 yards out. The Arsenal goalkeeper springs to his right-hand side. Cat-like agility. Unbelievable stop from David Raya. Had nothing to do the whole game, and that's one of the best saves that he'll make this season.
And buoyed by that now and urged on by a bouncing Gary O'Neill. They tried to launch another attack, but on this occasion it didn't materialise, and that goal at the City Ground, Pat Murphy, didn't stand.
It's been ruled out, and Lewis Cook, who was involved in the short corner routine, training ground routine, very clever, he was ruled offside for his second touch. Good old VAR never fails to punch his way, does it, Ian? It's Forest 1, Bournemouth 0.
Swindon 0, Walsall 1 is the latest score in League 2. Arsenal switch play out towards the left. Martinelli brings it under control. Had to cock his left foot quite high. Now sends over a cross. And then as Ødegaard was making a run round the back, it was Saka who headed it away and out of Ødegaard's path, and it drifts out of play for a goal kick. So Arsenal still lead by 1-0. How the 10 men of Newcastle coping at St James's, John Bennett.
It is all Southampton, Ian. It's 0-0. Ben Brereton Diaz is being booed because Fabian Schär headbutted him and was sent off. But we've seen replays, it looked very soft. Newcastle 0, Southampton 0.
The crowd have just been shown that Raya save yet again on the big screen here at the Emirates. That was a super bit of goalkeeping.
It was a great save. It was a reaction save because Larsen gets really good purchase on the header. It's a fantastic cross that comes in from Hwang, head height at real pace. Larsen finds himself completely unmarked, and he powers it towards the Arsenal goalkeeper, who just springs to his right. He hasn't got time to get a step in. It's a pure reaction and a strong hand from David Raya. Really good save.
João Gomez runs away from Ødegaard, his fellow number 8. Strong run 2, chips it into the penalty area away from Larsen. White will be able to turn and clear this for the home team, but only as far as Totti, but he stumbles, allows Havertz, who then was fouled by the recovering Wolves defender, and he's going to be shown a yellow card here by Jared Gillett.
Had nothing else that he could do, Totti. Havertz does really, really well. The turnover of possession, Havertz uses his body wisely, gets the wrong side of Totti, and if Totti doesn't bring him down, he's away.
The referee not allowing Arsenal to take the quick free kick, which much the frustration of the supporters behind us as we sit here on the gantry at the Emirates, with Arsenal leading by 1-0. We have 7 minutes to go to half-time. Just wondering where we're going to go next on 5 Live as the halfway line, and it's Maz Farouki at Everton.
The atmosphere here at Goodison Park feeling familiar, one of frustration for the home fans here. A vape, I think, was thrown at the Brighton players as they were celebrating that Matoma goal over on the far side. Everton not creating that killer pass, that killer move in the box at the moment, and they trail by 1-0.
Here is Havertz to Ødegaard. Ødegaard has Saka darting ahead of him. Aït-Nouri, though, was tucked in and clears only as far as Partey. Flicks it back to Saliba, heads it then to Gabriel, brings it under control. Zinchenko is available as a left back on the halfway line. His forward ball, Rice is able to turn, cuts the ball back. Coming into that ball then off that left touch line is Martinelli. He's midway through the Wolverhampton Wanderers half. He then gets it back from Zinchenko. Arsenal still dominating this game, leading by 1-0. that have required the brilliance of Raya to keep Wolves at bay. It's only a slender lead. Partey now is forward, finds Ødegaard on the half turn, rolls it out towards Saka, right hand side of the penalty area, scoop cross, comes in, headed behind by Doherty, behind it goes for a corner.
Well, it was almost a carbon copy of a cross what led to Arsenal's goal. He's getting so much space down this right hand side, Bukayo Saka. Aït-Nouri's getting nowhere near tight enough. He goes to him, as we see, with the defenders with his arms behind his back, but he's 2 or 3 yards away from Bukayo Saka. All he does, quite simply, opens himself up, floats the ball in with his left foot, goes to the far post, and Arsenal unlucky not to get a second.
Swansea City are leading Preston North End by 1-0 in the Championship. So Swansea have taken the lead 5 minutes before half time, as it's a corner kick to Arsenal on that left hand side, taken short to Ødegaard from Rice. They bypass Rice on this occasion. Zinchenko passes it back though to the England international. He curls in the cross, headed away by Doherty inside that penalty area, flicked up in the air then by Rodrigo Gomez, headed back by Arsenal. Havertz tries to head it back away towards Saka in that central area, eventually comes down towards Saka and he shoots, and on the rise left footed, he's picked up a knock as well. Saka's gone down. It's a goal kick. Let's get news of that Swansea goal then. Molly Stevens.
Yeah, Swansea 1, Preston 0, Ian. A penalty that was caused by Liam Lindsay, the Preston player, with a handball in the box. Matt Grimes, the Swansea captain, as he does now, tends to step up for that penalty into the left-hand corner and past the former Swansea keeper, Freddie Woodman. Swansea 1, Preston 0.
Sports Report will follow this game with all the results and the reaction. 5:30 we've got commentary, West Ham United against Aston Villa, and Chris Sutton and Robbie Savage are then back for 6:06 at around 7:30. 08085909693. Saka is back on his feet but still not walking freely.
He's looked a real threat, hasn't he, Saka, down this right hand side in the first half. Like I said then, Aït-Nouri's just not getting close enough to him. And this game, I mean, Arsenal have just had a warning shot there with the header from Larsson and the good save by David Raya, because that's the only time really Wolves have ventured into the box. This has been dominated and dictated by Arsenal. It's up to them to dictate the pace and create more opportunities and go and win this game.
Well, I was here when they played last December. Arsenal scored 2 goals in the opening 15 minutes, but Wolves did get a late goal, and then it was a rather tense finish. So Arsenal will know that they'll need more than just the current 1-goal advantage that they've got here as we approach half-time on BBC Radio 5 Live. To St James's Park, John Bennett.
Huge chance for Southampton. It's 0-0, but Ben Brereton Diaz has headed over from close range. The public enemy number 1 here should have scored. Newcastle 0, Southampton 0.
Dundee have got a second goal as well in the Scottish League Cup. They now lead Airdrie 2-0 at Dens Park. Wolves probably seeing their best spell of the game in terms of possession, holding on to the ball as we approach the break, but still trailing by 1-0. Out it goes to Aït-Nouri on this near side, the left, and then that was a poor touch by Bellegarde, and he's been dispossessed by Saka, and a break is on. Ødegaard out towards Martinelli, but coming across was Mosquera and made a very good sliding challenge.
Really good tackle by Mosquera there. He had to time it absolutely perfect, because if Martinelli got a touch on that, he was away, he was around him.
Chance at the City ground. Who to? Pat Murphy.
To Forest, they're leading 1-0 through Wood. They're playing very well now. Elanga and Gibbs-White very prominent down the flanks. Just now Williams, delicate little chip just past the far post for the keeper beaten. Forest 1, Bournemouth 0.
Wolves are in possession, trailing by 1-0. We've got 2.5 minutes to go to half-time here at the Emirates in the sunshine in North London, as Walsall have got a second goal at Swindon in League 2. Swindon Town 0, Walsall 2 is the latest there. Here is Aït-Nouri, back towards Lamina, dropping very, very deep in between the 2 central defenders. Doherty is pushed forward on that far side, the right. Aït-Nouri's got into that inverted role on this near side, the left. That actually creates the space now for Bellegarde on this near side, and he sends in a cross off his right foot, and it's too close to the goalkeeper.
Yeah, too often. I mean, Wolves have ventured in 2 or 3 times, but 2 crosses that have led to nothing and 1 really good opportunity. Their opportunities are going to be few and far between, as they are with many teams when they come to the Emirates. They're not going to have possession, but when they do have possession, they've got to make it count. They've got to be a little bit more careful. They've been very careless when they have had possession in the final third, Wolves.
Wolves, who finished last season with 3 straight defeats. Indeed, it was only 1 win in their last 11 in all competitions. We talked about their daunting start. They've got Chelsea at home to come, Nottingham Forest away before the international break, and Wolverhampton Wanderers. Gary O'Neill, I'm sure, will hope to see his squad boosted by the time they go into that international period as Rice helps it on its way towards Martinelli. Martinelli cuts back, Martinelli shoots, and the deflection took it away from goal and behind for a corner kick, but Arsenal coming close to a second.
You know, that's a really, really good block there. Martinelli, you think he's going to pull the trigger on his left foot. He doesn't, he checks back onto his right foot, and it's Gomez in midfield, gets in, gets a little block, and it puts his left foot, hits his left foot, goes over the bar. Another corner to Arsenal, but that's a decent block. Grimsby Town are leading Cheltenham by 1-0. Goal just before half-time at Blundell Park in League Two. We're close to half-time here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Not a great deal of urgency from Rice, as he eventually will saunter his way over towards that far side, the left. Arsenal in their red and white tops, playing from left to right as we look, leading by 1-0 with a corner kick on that far side. And once again, that zonal marking system in operation for Wolves. With the exception of 3 Arsenal players, every outfield player is in that Wolverhampton Wanderers box. In it comes from Rice, in towards the near post, headed away by Larsson, gathered in by his fellow Norwegian Ødegaard, touches the ball back to Zinchenko, passes the ball down the line. We're into stoppage time now of 1 minute. Arsenal still have it, still probing. Back it goes then to White. His forward ball taken into feet by Martinelli and then dispossessed very well by Hwang, as there's now a goal at St James's Park. John Bennett.
To 10 man Newcastle 1, Southampton nil. It's Joel Linton against the run of play. Mix up at the back by Southampton. They lost the ball, crossed to Joel Linton, low shot into the net. Newcastle 1, Southampton 0.
So a goal in every game in the top flight. Everton 0, Brighton and Hove Albion 1. Newcastle leads Southampton by 1-0 despite being down to 10 men. Cher sent off. Forest lead Bournemouth by 1-0. That Bournemouth goal had been disallowed, and the 1 goal here giving Arsenal the advantage as we approach the break here at the Emirates, as the ball switched to this near side, the right, bounces onto the chest of Saka, rides up, brings it under control, plays it on the infield. White offers the support, then leaves it towards Partey. Challenge comes in from Bellegarde, dispossesses Partey, tries to get back as João Gomez runs clear for Wolves, waits to see where Bellegarde's going to go. Gomez does ever so well to hold on to it, still advancing, and then tried to get it out towards Bellegarde, couldn't squeeze it out towards the left, and the referee Jared Gillett blows his half-time whistle. Arsenal lead 1-0. Paul Robinson.
Yeah, and deservedly so. They've had the lion's share of the possession. They've been good today, have Arsenal. You know, in possession, the fluidity, they look very, very good in possession. In the wide areas, Saka's been a threat, Martinelli, Declan Rice and Ødegaard playing higher up the field. There hasn't really been a threat on the Arsenal goal apart from that one really, really good opportunity, the header from Larsson, which David Raya made an excellent save. Comfortable for Arsenal, but there's still a lot of work to do because Wolves have got a threat.
Mansfield Town are back in front. They lead Burton by 2-1 in League One, but half-time at the Emirates with that Havertz header after 25 minutes. It's Arsenal 1, Wolves 0.
But it'll be another 11 minutes before we have half-time at the City Ground, Pat Murphy.
Yes, indeed, because of that horrific injury to Danilo. We fear it's a serious leg injury. 1-0 to Forest, but just now Semenyo, who was innocently involved in that collision with Danilo, one just wide with his left foot from 25 yards. We've got another 10 minutes to play. Forest 1, Bournemouth 0.
It was an awful goalkeeper error that gifted Newcastle the lead at St James's Park, John Bennett.
Yeah, poor pass out by Alex McCarthy at the back, and now Newcastle just trying to hold on to their 1-goal lead before half-time. It was against the run of play. Southampton have dominated possession. They've had the best chances, but it's Newcastle 1, Southampton 0.
Brighton will be delighted to have Karu Matoma back approaching half-time at Goodison Park. Maz Faruqi.
Yeah, we are into the third of 4 minutes of stoppage time at the end of this first half. The player that's really made a good impression, Steve, in this first half, Yankuba Minteh, has just had to be subbed with what looks like a right rib issue coming together in the Brighton area with Mikalenko, and he has gone off. So Seaman Adingwo coming on for the last couple of minutes of stoppage time at the end of this first half. Brighton, after weathering some early pressure, looking really good here now. Everton 0, Brighton 1.
Half time in the game between Plymouth and Hull City. John Akers.
Yeah, much better for Wayne Rooney's team than it was last Sunday against Sheffield Wednesday. It's 0-0, Plymouth 0, Hull 0.
but Plymouth started really well. A really high press and 3 efforts at goal. Whittaker and Joe Edwards touching the goalkeeper. Hull came back into it and Malem put a half volley wide at the end of the half. Plymouth 0, Hull 0.
Our feature game in League One is Huddersfield Town against Stevenage. Half-time, Ellen Ellard.
Huddersfield 1, Stevenage 0, and Huddersfield struggled so much at home last season, but they've been well in control of their first home league game of the season, looking threatening from set pieces, not allowing Stevenage any opportunity to hit on the break, and a shaky first half from Cooper in the Stevenage goal, which opened the door to Huddersfield on a number of occasions, although the goal finally came from the head of Josh Koroma after a perfectly placed delivery from Sorensen. At half-time, Huddersfield 1, Stevenage 0.
Back to Magic Weekend in the Super League. Hull FC, London Broncos. Matt Newson.
Yeah, we're in the 13th minute of the second half. It's Hull 4, London 14. A scruffy game. London taking advantage of a penalty goal attempt. Ollie Leyland slotting it. They won't be too disappointed or bothered about the fact it's not a brilliant game. It's Hull 4, London 14.
Newcastle are suddenly looking comfortable with 10 men, John Bennett.
Yeah, they're pushing for a second goal here. Newcastle 1, Southampton 0, just a few seconds away from the half-time whistle. Hall with the shot, headed almost off the line out for another corner. Newcastle 1, Southampton 0.
Whistle at Goodison, Maz Faruqi.
Time. They didn't start well. Everton with some glorious chances to score, one in particular for Dwight McNeil, which he somehow didn't bury, instead hitting the right post and then putting the follow-up wide. Jack Harrison earlier had the ball in the net as well, but he was offside. But the best move of the match led to the goal. Started in the centre of the park by Cairo Matoma, finished by him, the new signing Yakuba Minter, involved as well down the right where he has been very good, I have to say, on first impression before. As I mentioned, he's just had to be subbed. After a dodgy start, then I think the new Brighton boss, Fabian Herzler, will be happy. At half-time, Everton 0, Brighton 1.
Feisty at St James's Park and the half-time whistle's gone, John.
Yes, Newcastle 1, Southampton 0. 2 big talking points. The first, the red card for Fabian Schär, coming together with Ben Brereton Diaz. Only moved his head slightly, but he was shown the red card. Brereton Diaz was booked. Brereton Diaz has been booed since then. You can hear the boos now. He missed a great chance not long afterwards. Southampton were dominating, but then it was Newcastle who scored due to an awful error at the back by Alex McCarthy, playing out from the back. That's the second big talking point. It's getting them into trouble. Gave the ball away. It was crossed into Joel Linton, who scored the goal. Newcastle 1, Southampton 0.
Back into the Championship. Half-time in the game between Swansea and Preston. Molly Stevens.
Yeah, Swansea 1, Preston 0. A Liam Lindsay handball has given the sole goal here to Swansea captain Matt Grimes. A comfortable penalty into the middle left side of the net with former Swans keeper Freddie Woodman diving the wrong way. Swansea have dominated this first half, so deserve the lead. Having said that, the shots on target for both teams, just needing a little bit of urgency. And I should mention, Steve, former Bristol City and Sunderland manager Lee Johnson is at the Swansea.com stadium today. He's been without a job since leaving Fleetwood Town last year, so could he be interested in the vacancy at Preston, I wonder?
Very good spot, Molly. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Sheffield United, Queen's Park Rangers. Half-time, Charlie Slater.
Sheffield United 2, QPR 0 in front after just 6 minutes as Harmer found the bottom corner from 18 yards before turning provider soon after for Keith for more to tap in at the back post. QPR struggled to live with them at times, and based on that 45 minutes, Steve, you can't tell me that Sheffield United won't be making an immediate return to the Premier League. I know it's early, but they lead by 2 goals to 0.
It's quite early. Thank you very much. Burnley have certainly started the season very well. Half-time at Turf Moor, Shojo Osaka.
Yeah, Burnley 2, Cardiff 0. Cardiff have actually played pretty well. More of the ball, more goal attempts, but it was a horrible mistake by goalkeeper Ethan Horvath, which saw them fall behind. He miscontrolled a simple back pass. Cardiff then hit the post through Yaku Meita. Burnley's second came through Luca Cogliosho just after the half-hour mark, and it has them very much in control of this game. Burnley 2, Cardiff 0.
Staying in the Championship, half-time at Vicarage Road, Watford, Stoke City. Rich Wolfenden. Doesn't look like we can hear from Rich Wolfenden at the moment. I can tell you it's 0-0. So instead, let's go to Carrow Road and Norwich Blackburn Rovers. Paul Scott.
Yes, we've got a goal here. It is Norwich 0, Blackburn 1 at half-time. Blackburn working really hard, looking industrious and good value for the lead. Ryan Hedges giving it to them in the 20th minute with a composed finish. Norwich have had chances. Josh Sargent there, 16 goals last season. He drilled one wide from the edge of the area. He smacked a header off the underside of the bar from close range, and then had a really decent chance that was denied by Sondre Tronstad sliding in to deny him as he pulled the trigger. It is Norwich 0, Blackburn 1 at half-time.
Back to the City Ground in the Premier League, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth. Pat Murphy.
Still 1-0 to Forest. We're still playing because of that injury to Danilo. Tavernier and Hussein have both gone close for Bournemouth. Forest 1, Bournemouth 0.
Thank you very much, Pat. Right, let's go through the scores in England and Scotland then. So in the Championship, Full times from earlier today: Derby 1, Middlesbrough 0, Portsmouth 0, Luton 0 and West Brom 0. Leeds 0. Other scores that you haven't heard about so far: Bristol City 2, Millwall 0 is a half-time score. In League One, it's Charlton 1, Leyton Orient 0 and Shrewsbury 1, Peterborough 4 as full times from the early kickoffs. Elsewhere, it's Blackpool 0, Stockport 0, Cambridge United 0, Crawley 0, Lincoln 0, Barnsley 1, Mansfield lead Burton at half-time by 2-1. Exeter are winning by 1-0 at Northampton. Reading 1, Wigan 0, Rotherham 0, Bristol Rovers 0 and Wickham 1, Birmingham 1, all half-time scores. In League 2, the early kickoffs: Carlisle 1, Barrow 0 and Bromley 2, AFC Wimbledon 0. Bromley's first home game ever in the Football League, more than 100 years of history, and they've won 2 from 2 now in the round. Half-times: Accrington Stanley 1, Harrogate 2, Bradford City 0, Salford 0, also 0-0 in the game between Colchester and MK Dons. Half-time: Crewe 0, promoted Chesterfield 4. Grimsby 1, Cheltenham 0, Morecambe 0, Gillingham 0, Newport 0, Doncaster Rovers 1, Port Vale 0, Tranmere 0 and Swindon 0, Walsall 2. Into the National League: Boston United 0, Forest Green 3 at half-time. It's Braintree 0, Yeovil 0. AFC Fylde a 2-1 up at Eastleigh. Barnet a 0-0 up at Ebbsfleet. And Aldershot lead at Halifax 1-0 at half-time. It's Hartlepool Southend 0. Also 0-0s at half-time in the game between Rochdale and Dagenham Redbridge, Solihull Moors and Maidenhead. Woking and Gateshead, although Woking are down to 10. York City versus Tamworth and Wealdstone versus Oldham. The other score: Sutton United 4, Altrincham 0 is a half-time score. Right, let's go into the Scottish League Cup. Aberdeen against Queen's Park, half-time. Kenny Crawford.
Aberdeen 0, Queen's Park 0. Steve, the Dons controlled the opening 15 minutes of this cup tie, but after that the Spiders scuttled back into it and should have taken the lead through either Zach Rudden or Jack Turner, who were denied by a goal line clearance and a save. The host's best chance fell to Senegalese forward Pepe Gueye, whose header was clawed away from the top corner by goalkeeper Callum Ferry. Aberdeen 0, Queen's Park 0 at half-time.
Other scores for you in Scotland: one game in the Scottish Championship, it's Ayr 1, Hamilton 2 at half-time. Scottish League 1, Alloa 0, Stenhouse Muir 0, Arbroath 0, Kelty Hearts 0. It's also 0-0 in the game between Cove Rangers and Dumbarton. In fact, the only goal in the division: Montrose lead Inverness away from home by 1-0 and they're down to 10 men. There's been another one just as I say that. It's half-time: Queen of the South 1, Annan 0. Scottish League 2, Clyde 0, Stirling 1, East Fife 1, Forfar 0, Edinburgh City 1, Bonnyrigg Rose 1 and Peterhead 1, Stranraer 0. In the Scottish League Cup, we just told you about Aberdeen Queen's Park. Other half-times: Dundee 2, Adrionians 0, Falkirk 0, Hearts 0, Spartans 0, Ross County 0, Rangers play St Johnstone at 5:45. You are up to date and Nick Hatfield has your news.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon. 100 firefighters are tackling a fire at Somerset House in central London. It's a former stately home, which is now a gallery and arts venue. The London Fire Brigade says its crews are tackling flames in part of the roof. There are no reports that anyone has been hurt. Hezbollah has fired rockets into Israel after at least 10 people were killed in an Israeli strike on a residential building in southern Lebanon. The Lebanese health minister says Syrian refugees were inside, but Israel maintains it was a weapons store. Police have started a murder investigation after a man in his 40s died in a suspected arson attack in Wigan. The Greater Manchester Force says a 48-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder and assault. And the Scottish National Party MSP John Mason has been suspended for comments on social media about the war in Gaza. The party says the post was unacceptable. Mr Mason says he's disappointed by the decision.
On BBC iPlayer.
We're all going on a summer holiday.
4 celebrities and their loved ones travel from the Amazon to the Andes.
There's a lot of love here. Brazil's beautiful.
But with no flights, no phones and no bank cards, this is no holiday.
Summer holiday.
Kelly Brook.
I am completely broken.
Scott Mills.
Oh, I want to stay in a hotel.
Collar Bikini.
I feel like I've been here for months.
And Jeff Brazier.
All I can think of is getting out of here.
Celebrity race across the world.
We are about to get busy.
Continues this Wednesday on BBC iPlayer.
This is 5 Live Sport.
With Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
All of the 3 o'clock Premier League kickoffs are 1-0 at half-time. Arsenal won, Wolves 0 in our commentary game. Everton 0, Brighton 1, Newcastle 1, Southampton 0. And it's far less important, the scoreline, given we've seen a horrible injury to Danilo, Pat Murphy, but it is also 1-0 at the City Ground.
1-0 at half-time. Wood scored, having begun the move that led to Yates' shot and fumble by Neto, the keeper, routine finish. Chances at either end, but yes, the key thing is that injury to Danilo looked a shocker very early on. The reaction from all involved, protective blankets around the injured player, and he came off to sympathetic applause. 11 minutes added on. Not a great day for Lewis Cook. Just been booked, and he was an errant person involved in the build-up that led to the equaliser we thought being chalked off for offside against Cook. Forest 1, Bournemouth 0. Our thoughts with Danilo.
Absolutely. Pat, thank you very much. Let's go back to Magic Weekend at Ellen Road. Hull FC, London Broncos. Matt Newsom.
At the moment, it's the bottom side in the table, London Broncos, who lead Hull FC by 14 points to 4, and they are the side that have been piling on the pressure, denied a try by a little bit of loose handling right at the last. Hull have been on the rack, and at the moment they could be on course for going 12 points down here, because London have a penalty and they look like they're going to kick for goal. But at the moment, Hull 4, London 14.
Earlier in the Premier League, Ipswich Town started life back in the top flight with a 2-0 defeat to Liverpool at Portman Road. We can hear from the Ipswich boss, Kieran McKenna, on what he's learned from today's game.
We'll take a lot of things. I think the first thing that I want the group to take is confidence, because I think they showed that, despite where we've come from, we can compete in Premier League level, and we competed fantastically well for 45 minutes against one of the best teams. And then there's lots of lessons within the game. Of course, we need to be a little bit more clinical in our execution in the first half when we're on top, because you're not going to have it for 90 minutes against teams of Liverpool's level. So we probably needed a goal in that first half, and that's just improving and developing ourselves, developing and improving our execution under fatigue and big moments. And if we had done that, we'd probably go in with a lead at half time. And then in the second half, we weren't quite able to hit the best level, our level from the first half. Liverpool, improved their level, and probably the main thing is I think we could have managed probably the period better around their goals. Whenever they scored, we were probably a little bit open at that phase, and match management wise, it's probably understanding and feeling the level. And when a team that good or in that level of ascendancy, the priority needs to shift from not chasing an equaliser with still 30 minutes to go, but making sure that we stay in the game for a period so that we can come back again stronger. So yeah, there's some good lessons in there, and we'll get into it on Monday and we'll be stronger for it.
That's the Ipswich boss, Kieran McKenna. Another Kieran Riley, big Newcastle fan, Olympic silver medalist. You might remember him from our coverage from Paris, winning the silver in the BMX freestyle. He's just been announced onto the pitch at St James's Park, where 10-man Newcastle are leading Southampton by 1-0. All the goals as they go in full second half commentary from the Emirates then on Arsenal 1, Wolves 0, with Paul Robinson and Ian Dennis.
No changes at half-time by either side, and I've got a confession to make. I would have forgotten fact of the day had I not been reminded to mention it by Arsenal's new MD, Richard Garlick, who I was speaking to ahead of the game, because he'd reminded me that I've got to mention something about a washing machine, which is how David Raya had described Arsenal's new signing, Calafiori, that he's so brave he'd put his head into a washing machine. Tony Livesey tried to hoodwink me into thinking that he was so brave he put it into a donkey's nose bag, but I'm no El Burro, and I didn't fall for it. Fact of the day, every Friday with Drive and Tony at around 5:20, and thank you to Richard for the reminder. We're back underway then. Arsenal leading by 1-0 here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Raya is in goal. White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Ødegaard, Partey and Rice, Saka, Havertz, the goal scorer, and Martinelli. Wolves lining up then with that change of formation, with that back four in front of Jose Sarr, of Doherty, Totti, Mesquiera, Aït-Nouri, Juan Gomez, Lamina, Rodrigo Gomez, Bellegarde and Larson. And I just wonder what the game plan might be for Gary O'Neill. Do they try and stay in the game for as long as they can, bearing in mind the words we've just heard from Kieran McKenna?
You've been watching this game too long, Dano. That's exactly what I was going to say. Keep an eye on how Wolves approach this game, because if they get to 65, 70 minutes and it's still 1-0, I don't think Gary O'Neill will be too disappointed. They don't want to be too open, too expansive, too early on in the second half, and allow Arsenal the opportunity to pick holes in this defence, create chances and put the game out of sight. He'll want his team to stick to the game plan he had at the start of the game, stay in this game for as long as they can, and at the moment maybe nick something on the break, and as the game goes on, make changes and create some more chances.
Little lull in the atmosphere as well. A large number of the supporters on this baking hot day. It's around 23, 24 degrees in North London today, still making their way back to their seats as Wolves attack. Cross comes in from the left in their gold shirts, black shorts, playing from left to right as we look against Arsenal in their red and white tops and white shorts. And there was a tumble there from Havertz, who almost fell into referee Jared Gillett. He actually has given that free kick to Arsenal, who leading through that Havertz header after 25 minutes. Barnsley have got a second goal early in the second half in League One at Sincil Bank. Lincoln City 0, Barnsley 2. The usual goal service on a Saturday afternoon. As this is Gabriel back to Saliba, closed down by Bellegarde. Then it's back with Gabriel towards his goalkeeper Raya. There Wolves will press, but Partey makes himself available. Oh, it's a heavy touch by Partey, presents it back towards Hwang, fed it quite quickly into the feet of Larson, and they lost the ball as quickly as they recovered it.
That's what Arsenal have got to be careful of in this second half, not to be their own worst enemy, create their own problems by playing out from the back and overplaying. Terrible touch there by Partey, let Larson nick in and almost had an opportunity, Wolves.
Ødegaard's done well, good footwork. He releases White, scampering forward on that right hand side. Lemina on the cover, and Lemina, the Wolves captain, will bring it away and now curls the ball low out towards Hwang. Let's get an update in the 100, the cricket with Melissa Story.
Well, London Spirit have got off to a flyer in their pursuit of 114. They need 78 off 67 balls, and they've only lost the one wicket of Meg Lanning for 22. 78 needed, 67 balls left.
Commentary on Sports Extra. It's also live on BBC Two. Free kick to Wolverhampton Wanderers as the ball goes back to Totti at the heart of that defence. Lemina was to the side of him, but Ødegaard putting him under pressure. Back to Jose Sarr. Good header forward then on that far side by Saliba for Arsenal. Aït-Nouri brings it under control, gets away from Saka on that far side. Now with Totti. Gary O'Neill with his arms outstretched, looking very casual down below, desperate to try and get the attention of his central defender. Work it out towards Rodrigo Gomez on that far side. It's quite slow, isn't it, the build-up from Wolves at this stage?
Yeah, just noticed there's been a really slight formation change as well. Hwang's been playing out on his right-hand side most of the game, and he's been wasted, in my opinion. We've not seen much of him. But now in this second half, he started a lot closer to Larson. In the first half, it was Bellegarde who was operating as that 10. And Rodrigo Gomez and Hwang seem to be operating two players in behind Larson now in the second half, with Bellegarde dropping a little bit deeper. But Hwang is noticeably narrower in the second half.
Well, here is Bellegarde, tried to slot it through, closed down by Havertz. It's almost as if Lemina is actually playing as the left of a... Have they gone to the 3 then now, do you think, at the start of this second
Just
half?
looking now in possession, Lemina's a lot deeper, so I'm just waiting to see now when they lose possession whether the Lemina does drop into the back 3. But the forward shape in the final two-thirds would suggest that at the moment.
It was his ball into the penalty area that was repelled, and the back header from Zinchenko finds his goalkeeper Raya, who looks for the early distribution over the top, and that was good anticipation by Jose Sarr. Out of his penalty area, all in green to head it away, picked up by Rice just short of the halfway line. Now out towards Martinelli on this near side to left. Martinelli passes the ball towards Havertz. He tried to place it. He had time to control it right-footed, but that must have been good 2-3 yards wide of the right-hand post. We'll get news of a goal, first of all, from Rich Wolverhampton before we hear from Paul Robinson about that miss. Rich is at Watford.
Yeah, and it's 1-0 to Watford there. 100% start to the campaign continues. It's Ado Kayembe with the goal. Ryan Andrews, the right back, cutting onto his left foot, forcing the save out of Johansson. He pushed it into the path of Kayembe, who couldn't miss from 2 yards out. 1-0 Watford.
That was a glaring miss by Havertz.
Good opportunity, but you could see what he was trying to do up on the gantry here. Was sat right behind him. He opened himself up, opened his body up, and he was just trying to curl it into that far left-hand corner of Jose Sarr's goal, but he just doesn't get it right. He stiffs it straight instead of getting any curl on it. Goes well wide of the post, But yeah, in acres of space in the 18-yard box, a worrying moment for Wolves.
Penalty at Goodison. Maz Faruqi.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin has won it for Everton. Dwight McNeil has the ball under his arm. Dominic Calvert-Lewin brought down by Lewis Dunk seconds into this second half. But we've just got to pause in play here because, as ever, Simon Hooper's now been asked, I think, to go and have a look at the pitch side monitor. So come back to me, Ian.
Will do. Meanwhile, the Spartans are leading Ross County in the Scottish League Cup second round by 1-0. Chesterfield have hit a 5th goal at Gresty Road. Crewe 0, Chesterfield 5. Newport have equalised also in League 2. Newport 1, Doncaster Rovers 1, and Plymouth Argyle are leading Hull City by 1-0. Wayne Rooney's side have just taken the lead. We'll bring you news of that goal from Home Park when we can. Meanwhile, Doherty forward, crosses the ball from the right. Hwang infield to Larson, then cleared at the last moment inside that penalty area by Partey. The Wolves have made a good start to this second half. Only trailing by 1-0. Little flick by Doherty to Hwang. Couldn't keep the ball in play, and it will be an Arsenal throw. And as promised from Home Park is John Akers.
Yeah, the Wayne Rooney era up and running, as you said, Ian. Plymouth 1, Hull 0. Sissoko, one of his summer signings, with a lovely first touch and shot past the goalkeeper at his near post. Plymouth 1, Hull 0.
Bristol City 2, Millwall 1. Millwall have got a goal back. And Swindon 0, Walsall 3. Watford have got a second goal now at home to Stoke City. So Watford 2, Stoke City 0. Did that penalty stand then, Maz?
It did not. Simon Hooper's had a look at the pitch side monitor. He said no foul by Lewis Dunk, so no penalty for Everton. It is still Everton 0, Brighton 1.
Newcastle down to 10 men, lead Southampton by 1-0. Nottingham Forest 1, Bournemouth 0. But as Pat Murphy has been explaining, there is an 11-minute delay due to a serious injury to Danilo. And here, Arsenal still lead Wolves by 1-0. In League 2, Grimsby 2, Cheltenham 0. In our featured game in League 1, there's been another goal at Huddersfield. Ellen Ellard.
Huddersfield 2, Stevenage 0. Ben Wiles has been knocking on the door time after time. Finally he's found the breakthrough. Lasse Sorensen, a lovely ball once again across the face of goal, and Wiles was there to power past the keeper. Huddersfield 2, Stevenage 0.
This is 5 Live, BBC Sounds and the World Service. We're live at Arsenal, who lead Wolverhampton Wanderers by 1-0. Zinchenko touches the ball short to Gabriel. Been a patient start by Arsenal second half.
Patient. Wolves will be pleased the way that the second half started. There's a little bit of a lull in the crowd, like you said. It's up to Arsenal to create their own tempo.
Saka collects it from Havertz, enters the penalty area, runs straight into trouble though with Aït-Nouri, who should eventually clear over on that far side. In fact, he was being penned back by Saka. He took an extra touch and then conceded the corner as he fell over, and Saka has looked to try and whip up the crowd. In the sunshine, there's a soporific feel to the atmosphere here in North London. News of that second goal at Watford, Rich Wolfenden.
Yeah, the crowd is bouncing. 2 goals in the first 4 minutes of the second half. Ryan Andrews, the man with the goal, the right back in the 6-yard box. Yasser Larouci, the man who played for Sheffield United last season, who joined in the summer, his shot saved, and the rebound was there for Andrews to make it 2-0 Watford.
Millwall, who were 2-0 down at Ashton Gate, have now got it back to 2-2. Bristol City 2, Millwall 2 is the latest score in the Championship. You're up to date with the goals as they go in. Wolves are going to make a change very soon. Cunha's going to be coming on, but it's a corner kick to Arsenal, far side the right, playing from right to left as we look, and it comes from Saka. Gabriel tried to head it on at the near post, caught by Sarr, runs to the edge of his area, tries to release it, being tracked every way by Martinelli. So Cunha will look to pep up this Wolves attack.
Be interesting to see who he comes on for. But they're just another Arsenal corner again. Every single Wolves player inside the 6-yard box, and we question that tactic. But actually, Arsenal have been very, very good on their set plays, and that new rule about not being able to block players, etc. Wolves have found an effective way at the moment of stopping Arsenal's threat from corners.
Martinelli to Havertz. Mosquera gets in a tangle with Havertz, and Havertz has gone down holding his face, and the referee Jared Gillett is going to have a look at that. It might have just been accidental that he actually fell into to Havertz, but the crowd are certainly baying for action to be taken by the official. Cunha waits to come on. Whilst this is going to get settled, let's get news of a chance at St James's Park. John Bennett.
10-man Newcastle 1, Southampton 0. Double chance though for Southampton for Adam Armstrong. His first effort saved off the line, then a brilliant save by Nick Pope. Paul Robinson would have enjoyed that one. Newcastle 1, Southampton 0.
Well, certainly Paul enjoyed the save from David Raya in the first half from a Larson header, which you'll be able to see on Match of the Day tonight, BBC One, 10:20. We don't have the benefit of a replay, but there doesn't appear to be any action taken at this stage, although Mosquera is now being called towards the official.
Yeah, and Kai Havertz doesn't seem to be overly injured or overly hurt by it. The referee just gathering both players together, saying, look, enough of that, you two get on with the game. And I think that's it, a flea in the ear for both of them, and let's get on with it.
Sensible refereeing then from Jared Gillett. Now the change can happen. Bellegarde is the player who's going to be coming off. So Mateus Cunha coming on. With goals away from home last season in the Premier League, only Erling Haaland and Ollie Watkins actually scored more than Cunha. I mentioned the goal that he scored here in December. Picked up a hamstring injury in pre-season, but he's on the field now for Wolverhampton Wanderers. A goal at Turf Moor, Shojo Saka.
Burnley 3, Cardiff 0. Josh Brownhill with his second for the season. He was played through on the counter-attack, one-on-one with the keeper, no mistake. Burnley 3, Cardiff 0.
So Cunha is on, and Wolves are coming forward with Hwang to Doherty, near side the right, playing from left to right as we look. Little touch from Cunha to João Gomez. Certainly a bit of confidence about Wolves in this second half.
Growing into the game, and Arsenal are going to have to be careful, because the longer this game goes, the more confident that Wolves will get. They're starting to press higher up the pitch. They're enjoying longer spells of possession. And as I said before, it's up to Arsenal. They're 1-0 up now. They won't want to have a nervy, edgy last half an hour of this game. It's up to them to create a tempo, to pick holes in this Wolves defence. As we said at half-time, this is what Gary O'Neill will have wanted.
Well, Wolves have won the ball with Aït-Nouri. He runs straight into Saliba, but Aït-Nouri manages to hold on to it. Links up with Cunha. Aït-Nouri in a central area now, gets away from Havertz, threads it through, gets the return ball back, tries to spin on the edge of the area, goes to ground. No foul, says the referee, from the challenge from Rice. Ødegaard then was brought down by João Gomez. The referee, though, has played the advantage as Saka picks it up and now finds Rice. Ødegaard is back to his feet. Arsenal running forward. Rice to the edge of the Wolves penalty area, finds Martinelli left side of the box to Zinchenko, cuts it back, won't reach Ødegaard, might come out towards Partey, shoots left-footed first time, and it is wide and out for a goal kick, as we will go to Bramall Lane. A goal in the Championship, Charlie Slater.
10 gone in the second half. QPR have a goal back night and day from the first half. A corner kick, in-swinging, glancing header from Jimmy Dunn, flash past the goalkeeper. Sheffield United 2, QPR 1.
Well, that was probably Arsenal's best period of this second half.
Should hit the target as well, Thomas Partey. Looking at the replays on the big screen, it comes out to him on his left foot, 18 yards out. He's got a clear strike on goal, goes harmlessly 2 or 3 yards wide. He should do better, should at least cause Jose Sarr and the Wolves goal a problem.
Didn't really play a great deal of football last season due to a thigh injury, only 16 appearances, but his last goal was in March 2023. As in the Premier League earlier today, Ipswich Town 0, Liverpool 2. Ball in towards Havertz. Havertz with a first-time shot. Block. Out it goes. Straight to Goodison Masfaruqi.
Brighton and celebrating in front of their away fans here at Goodison Park. They have a second. Danny Welbeck. Maisie run forward. Good finish. Past Jordan Pickford. Everton 0, Brighton 2.
Nothing really materialises from that Arsenal throw. Wolves will bring the ball out of defence. Doherty eventually gets it clear. So Everton 0, Brighton and Hove Albion 2, Liverpool winning 2-0 at Ipswich. They're unbeaten now in their last 12 seasons on the opening day. Here is Ødegaard to Zinchenko. Good covering by Doherty inside that penalty area. Aït-Nouri was fouled by Saka, and that will be a free kick to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Other latest scores then: Newcastle 1, Southampton 0. Nottingham Forest 1, Bournemouth 0. And we've got commentary to come from West Ham Aston Villa at 5:30. As a yellow card has just been shown to Saka for kicking the ball away.
A little bit of frustration there from Saka. Arsenal getting frustrated, winning some good possession in the final third, just not been able to create any chances with it.
Reading 2, Wigan 0 is the latest in League One. Totti's ball on the stretch, Lamina. He's had that floating role. At times you see him quite deep, almost alongside his central defenders, and there he was back in his more accustomed position in midfield.
They're quite happy with this, Wolves. The game's getting a little bit scrappy. It's broken up by fouls and little bits of disjointedness in the midfield. Again, another foul. Declan Rice. Mikel Arteta's getting more and more animated in his technical area, or not his technical area as such, halfway up down the touchline, wherever he seems to roam.
Well, he'll be getting more and more animated as the game goes on if they can't find a second goal to put it to bed. They only lead by 1-0. BBC Radio 5 Live. This is Totti in the centre circle on the halfway line. Crowd now responding. I think the crowd are just sensing as well that they might need to play their role at this stage as João Gomes. Havertz has dropped off. Now with Mosquera along the ground towards Doherty. Plays it back to the tall and lean Colombian. Cunha dropping very, very deep, linking up the play here for Wolves, out towards Hwang. Certainly they have players with the quality to hurt Arsenal given the opportunity. Actually have done quite well in recent trips to London. They've won each of their last 3 away league games in the capital. And you consider that they'd failed to do so in their previous 14. And here is Aït-Nouri, he's going to shoot from distance. What a fine effort that was, and it was just off target. It had Raya at full stretch. Well, that's certainly a warning shot.
So much better this second half, Wolves. So much more belief, so much more confidence. Pressing higher up the pitch, Rodrigo Gomez, Aït-Nouri, that great strike there. The snapping into tackles, the first into tackles. Aït-Nouri's been allowed a little bit more of a freer role. You're finding him higher up the pitch, and you just see the intent from Wolves. They're snapping at tackles. They're a lot better than they were in the first half.
Hull City have equalised at Plymouth in the Championship. Plymouth 1, Hull City 1. Dundee 3, Airdrie 0 is the latest in the Scottish League Cup second round. Cheltenham have got a goal back at Grimsby. Grimsby 2, Cheltenham 1, and Swansea City are leading Preston now by 2-0. Molly Stevens.
They are indeed. Azim Abdullahi was on the pitch for a matter of minutes, Ian. A late substitution who scored in the cap in the week for Swansea. He has boosted this Swansea side. Swansea 2, Preston 0, and Swansea are looking confident.
And let's get news of that Hull equaliser. John Akers.
Plymouth 1, Hull 1. It's a brilliant run. A 1-2. Captain Lewis Coyle, edge of the penalty area. First time shot in off the post. Plymouth 1, Hull 1.
Full time in the rugby. Matt Newsom.
Yeah, bad news for the footballing side of the MKM Stadium. Their rugby league counterparts have been absolutely hammered here at Magic Weekend. They've lost 4 points to 29. London were absolutely brilliant. 2 tries Josh Rourke, 1 for Jack Camagnolo and 1 for Ollie Leyland. They absolutely ran riot. Hull with just the 1 try in reply from Lewis Martin. Hull 4, London 29 in Super League.
63 minutes played. Arsenal still lead by 1-0. Zinchenko on this near side gets it back from Partey. All the way it goes back to Gabriel, and now with David Raya with the ball at his feet. And Saliba takes it inside his own penalty area. But Wolves will still have got a lot of encouragement with the way that they've performed so far in this second half. Raya just waits. Team news now from West Ham, John Murray.
Well, of the West Ham new signings, Maximilian Kilman at the back and Guido Rodriguez in midfield are in the team. But with Michael Antonio up front, Fulkrug is only on the bench, as are Somerville and Todibo. And Villa's biggest signing of the summer, Amadou Onana, starts. But of the other signings, Barkley, Philogene, Nedeljkovic and Maatsen are all substitutes.
Steve Sidwell joining John on commentary duties after Sports Report at 5:30 on 5 Live. Millwall, who were 2-0 down, are now leading at Bristol City by 3-2. Duncan Watmore has just put them ahead at Ashton Gate in the Championship. Wolves, though, here now with Doherty. Martinelli goes towards him. Gary O'Neill is the one now pacing inside that expansive area, as that technical area down below. Doherty collects it on this near side. Infield, he finds João Gomes, gets away from one challenge, has done well. Lamina then helps it on its way out towards Aït-Nouri. Aït-Nouri gets clear of Saka. João Gomes scoops it forward. Zinchenko heads it away, the left back just in front of Hwang. Loose ball picked up by Mosquera, sends over the cross. Rodrigo Gomez with the volley slightly behind him. He's saying it took a deflection. The referee agrees. Wolves have a corner kick as they trail 1-0.
Can't tell you the difference in Wolves' performance between the first half and the second half. And the longer that this game goes, the more confident that they're getting. They're pressing higher up the pitch. They're enjoying longer spells of possession in the Arsenal half. And it's Arsenal who are sitting deep and looking to hit Wolves on the counter-attack at the moment.
Wolverhampton Wanderers' first corner of the game, 65 minutes in. And now they've loaded that box away towards our right-hand side. And Arsenal have every red and white shirt back inside the penalty area. Wolves have now got 2 players just lurking outside the D. Rodrigo Gomez to take it, right-footed, in towards the near post. Disappointing, easily cleared by Havertz.
Poor corner, wasn't it? Kai Havertz occupying that near post. he was able to volley it away, came in at chest height, quite an easy clearance. Poor corner.
Cunha will leave the throw-in duties to Doherty, just down that slight slope as he waits. It's going to be a long run up now here for Doherty with the throw for Wolves. It's a looping one in towards the near side. Zinchenko climbed high to head it away, hooked over his head by Havertz. Doherty prevents Martinelli from getting clear. Arsenal try and get the ball back, but there is a real hunger about Wolves at this stage, and João Gomez gets away from Martinelli. His cross strikes the back of Rice. It bounces awkwardly, hooked on, keeping it alive inside the penalty area, and Saka gets it away just before it could drop towards Rodrigo Gomez. But Wolves are definitely enjoying a good spell in the game. Jurrien Timber's going to be coming on soon for Arsenal.
Larson doing really well there, puts his back into the defender, acrobatics, gets the ball across, and another opportunity for Wolves. You can hear the Arsenal crowd just responding, trying to pick their team up. They get a feeling that they're not on top of this game.
This game is far from safe for Arsenal. Wolves are enjoying their best spell of the game so far. Hwang with a dangerous cross gathered in by Raya. Arsenal still lied by a 1-0 to Goodison Park. Mazfarouki.
Matoma with a good chance for his second and Brighton's third in this second half. Iliman Ndiaye, one of the new signings for Everton, on in this second half now. Everton not looking like scoring there at the moment and still trailing 2-0.
It's gone from bad to worse for Airdrie. They're 3-0 down at Dundee, and Dylan McDonald has been sent off in that Scottish League Cup tie at Dens Park. 1-0 to Arsenal. Midway through the second half, Gabriel, back it goes to Raya. His forward ball to Saliba, under pressure, is giving it away. Cunha steadies himself and shoots straight at Raya. What a chance that was for Wolves. What a let-off for Arsenal.
Really poor by the Arsenal back four, playing out, overplaying, not looking where the ball's going. It's a really good opportunity for Cunha on his left foot, and he should do better. He hits the target, but it's straight at David Raya's feet. Very, very comfortable for the goalkeeper. But I said at the start of this first half, Arsenal could be the masters of their own downfall with this overplaying from the back. Wolves have got a little smell that they're getting back in this game. The high press, they win the ball back, and that was a really, really good opportunity.
Certainly was. Couldn't take it. Didn't take it. Swindon 0, Walsall 4. Accrington 2, Harrogate 2. Two latest scores in League 2. We'll go to St James's Park now. Newcastle, Southampton. John Bennett.
Yeah, Newcastle with 10 men, 1, Southampton 0, but it's defence against attack. It is all Southampton. Gio Aribo's just had a shot deflected wide. Newcastle 1, Southampton 0.
As Zinchenko makes way for Jurrien Timber, we'll go to Nottingham Forest and Pat Murphy.
Forest still lead Bournemouth 1-0. They made a couple of substitutions early on in this half. They're looking to catch Bournemouth on the break, who are looking more dangerous as a consequence. Forest 1, Bournemouth 0.
So the Dutch defender is on. Had a really bad time of it through injury, that ACL injury so early on in his Arsenal career last August, but did come back for the last 21 minutes against Everton on the final day, and he got a lovely ovation as he came on for Zinchenko. So Arsenal have made the change, and Timber, versatile defender, now plays at left back. Just over 20 minutes remaining, but it's a slender lead for Arsenal. And there's a little bit of tension inside the stadium.
There is, you can feel it, and everything that looked so easy and comfortable for them in the first half, just not so much in the second half. As I said, Wolves pressing them high, they're playing out from the back. They looked so comfortable in the first half. They were breaking the press, they were getting through this Wolves press, they were breaking the lines. They look a bit nervy on the ball, you know, that nobody wants to be the one that makes the mistake. Nobody's taking that chance of putting the ball through. They're trying to make easy balls, and Wolves they're just sensing that there's something for them in this game at the moment.
Quick free kick from Arsenal on that right-hand side. Saka plays it back. Ødegaard will shoot. Beaten out by Sarr. Turned it behind for a corner kick. Fabulous effort. Great bit of goalkeeping from Sarr. Sending off at Everton, Mazfarouki.
It's Ashley Young, a straight red card for pulling back Matoma as he was on the attack down the left-hand side. Simon Hooper made no hesitation, so he thinks he was the last man. I wasn't sure, but it is a straight red card for Ashley Young. Everton down to 10 and still trailing 2-0.
Mansfield 2, Burton 2. Newport 2, Doncaster Rovers 1. Lincoln have got a goal back at home to Barnsley as they still trail. Lincoln 1, Barnsley 2. Accrington now lead Harrogate by 3-2. Northampton have just equalised at home to Exeter. 1-1 at Sixfields. Corner from Arsenal, taken, rolled out towards Timber, who shoots right-footed, took a deflection. That'll be a corner kick to Arsenal. Paul Robinson.
Yeah, well-worked set play again by Arsenal. They had a lot of success last season, Arsenal, with these set plays, and you can see not one of them's the same. They're going short, they're putting things in the box, they've got players making different runs. You can tell that they spend a lot of time on the training field working on these set plays.
Wolverhampton Wanderers still trailing by 1-0. Have got everybody back. Lamina's complaining to the referee that Arsenal are taking too long with this corner kick. Birmingham are now leading at Wycombe by 2-1. They were behind, but they're leading 2-1 in League One. Stuttering run up from Saka, far side. It's a low one in, easily cleared by Cunha, although his clearance goes straight to Ødegaard on the edge of the area. Square ball now towards Rice, gets it out from underneath his feet, floats it out towards that right hand side. Saka brings it under control. Timber's going to go on the overlap. Here he is now, enters the penalty area, tries to make that little darting run towards the near post. Thought he'd won a corner. Referee says instead it will be a goal kick. Norwich 1, Blackburn Rovers 1. Norwich with an equaliser at Carrow Road. Paul Scott has the details.
Yes, Josh Sargent firing into the roof of the net after the ball was won by Callum Doyle, the Manchester City loanee, fed it through to Sargent, who finished high over the onrushing Ainsley Pears. It's Norwich 1, Blackburn 1.
Daniel Podence is going to be coming on. He's just getting his final instructions. He had that very successful loan spell at Olympiacos last season. As here is Saka for Arsenal. He got the assist for the only goal of the game in the first half. Can't wriggle his way through as he lost the ball. He tries to win it back, but Aït-Nouri stands firm and digs it out. Now releases Rodrigo Gomez far side the left. He's held up by a couple of Arsenal players. White snapping at his heels. Rodrigo Gomez off balance. Played it back, but the referee has actually given a free kick to Wolves.
That wasn't a free kick. Ben White's done really, really well there. Tracked his runner, worked really hard, and the assistant referee on the far side, far too quick to put his flag up. Ben White's got back. He's got goal side. Made a really good challenge. That was never a free kick.
Newport 3, Doncaster 1 is the latest score in League 2. What's the latest at the City Ground? Pat Murphy.
Still 1-0 Forest, but could have been 2-0 just now. Bolly, a towering header from a corner. 10 yards out, superb high save to his left by Neto. Forest 1, Bournemouth 0.
Remember that game is delayed by 11 minutes behind the majority of the matches that are being played at 3 o'clock. Newcastle down to 10 men, still leading. John Bennett.
Somehow they are holding on. Newcastle 1, Southampton 0. It is all the Saints at the moment. Kelly and Barnes about to come on for Newcastle. Newcastle 1, Southampton 0.
Ødegaard tries to get away from Lamina. Lamina leads into the challenge. Unfairly, says the referee, there was a foul, which Arsenal are taking quickly. Partey now towards Havertz. Saka to his right. Here he is. Enters the penalty area. Saka onto his left foot. Shoots and scores. That should seal it for Arsenal. Saka lashed it past Sarr and takes the acclaim of the crowd. And Arsenal lead now by 2-0. And also, bearing in mind the wonderful tribute that we had to Kevin Campbell at the head of the game, who had his funeral on Wednesday in Brixton. Bukayo Saka moves level now with Kevin Campbell and Liam Brady, joint 40th in Arsenal's top goal scorers, with his 59th in his Arsenal career, and he gave the keeper no chance.
Gave the keeper no chance, but again, Aït-Nouri gets nowhere near him, nowhere near close enough. Comes into the box so many times do we see Saka do it. He did it for the first goal, cut inside a little bit further out, whipped his crossing. This time he's 10 yards inside the box, opens himself up on his left foot. The whole stadium knows what he's going to do. Thinks he's going to whip it round Jose Sarr. He reverses it into the near post. Enough pace on it to beat the Wolves goalkeeper. Left foot, great execution. Aït-Nouri nowhere near close enough. Wolves goalkeeper Sarr potentially could do better when you see it. He thinks that Bukayo Saka's going to whip it around him. He doesn't. He cleverly reverses it into the near post. 2-0 Arsenal, and it's a goal that they needed.
Well, he certainly struck it very, very well, and it flashed past Jose Sarr. He scored 20 goals last season. It was his career best return, and he's got an assist, and now he's on the score sheet himself. And Daniel Podence has replaced Rodrigo Gomez for Wolves as we have 15 minutes remaining. Newport County 3, Doncaster 1, a latest score in League 2. Blackpool 0, Stockport County 1 is the latest in League 1. And there are no other goals to tell you about. But if you're a regular listener on a Saturday afternoon, you'll know at this stage it starts to get a little bit more chaotic. We'll give you all the latest scores as we wind our way up towards Sports Report, with the results and the reaction to come. But any apprehension or tension that might have been building has certainly now evaporated here.
Well, you can feel the relief in the stadium, and you can hear the Arsenal fans. They've found their voice again. that is exactly what Arsenal needed, because Wolves were really growing into this game, pressing high, and that's just taken the wind out of their sails. It really has. They were doing well, Wolves. They started the second half well. Arsenal sitting deep, a couple of sloppy passes, a couple of groans creeping into the stadium. But as you can hear now, these Arsenal fans are starting to believe again, and that goal has come at a really critical time for them, because these last 15 minutes, they could have been very, very nervy for Arsenal if it was still only 1-0.
Certainly has. That's the voice of Paul Robinson, the former England international goalkeeper, with us here on the World Service, BBC Sounds and 5 Live, as Watford now lead Stoke City 3-0, and Dundee have got a fourth against the 10 men of Airdrie in the Scottish League Cup second round, as Wolverhampton Wanderers, with 14 minutes to try and salvage something. Was that handball potentially against Martinelli? The referee
blatant
didn't
handball.
spot it.
Blatant handball, and the assistant referee on this side as well, staring straight at it.
Free kick though given to Wolves just over the halfway line. Mikel Arteta in deep conversation, toying maybe at a potential change himself. But that second goal coming at just the right time for Arsenal, who are looking to win their opening Premier League game for 3 successive seasons for the first time since they did so between 2007 and 2009. And in contrast, Wolves, for the first time in their history, will open up a campaign with a defeat on the opening day in 4 successive seasons. Morecambe 0, Gillingham 1 is the latest score in League 2. João Gomez hits the ball long from just inside his own half. Out it goes to Hwang on that far side, dispossessed by White. It will go out of play for a throw. The 10 men of Airdrie have got a goal back at Dundee. Dundee 4, Airdrieonians 1. News of that third goal for Watford from Rich Wolfenden.
Edo Kayembe has another, and that is the cherry on top for Watford. 3-0 up. Georgi Chakvetadze, the Georgian international, who's been brilliant this afternoon, played it out to Kayembe, who thundered it off the underside of the crossbar for 3-0.
Latest scores then in the Scottish Cup second round. Aberdeen 0, Queen's Park 0 is still the latest at Pittodrie. Aberdeen 4, Airdrie 1, Airdrie down to 10. Falkirk lead Hearts by 1-0. The Spartans are still 1-0 up against Ross County. We'll have news of Rangers against St Johnstone, which kicks off at 5:45 into our next commentary, which is West Ham against Aston Villa at 5:30. Latest scores in the Football League to come. The 2 results in League 2, incidentally: Bromley 2, Wimbledon 0. What a fantastic start it's been for Andy Woodman and his team, as they've won their opening 2 games. Carlisle beat Barrow in the Cumbrian Derby at Brunton Park by 1-0. Latest scores: Accrington 3, Harrogate 2, Bradford City and Salford 0-0 at Valley Parade. Colchester and MK Dons is also goalless. Crewe 0, Chesterfield 5. They conceded 4 inside half an hour. Grimsby 2, Cheltenham 1, Morecambe 0, Gillingham 1, Newport County 3, Doncaster 1, Port Vale 0, Tranmere 0, Swindon 0, Walsall 4. As Arsenal are going to be making a change, and we're going to be seeing Leandro Trossard coming on, but Arsenal lead 2-0. Throw over on that far side for the home team. Just over 10 minutes remaining at the Emirates, and it's got a completely different feel to it, this place, after that second goal.
Absolutely has, yeah. The Arsenal fans have found the voice again. This game was teetering on the edge, wasn't it? It could have gone one way or another. Wolves, as we said, looking a lot better, snapping into tackles, but that second goal for Arsenal really has taken the wind out of the sails. Back to normal service as we were in the first half. Arsenal knocking the ball out quite comfortably, looking for a third.
Ødegaard looking now to Havertz. Havertz tries to place it, blocked by Mosquera, almost came to Saka, taken off him by Totti. As Trossard waits to come on, we're going to nip to Norwich. There's been another goal. Paul Scott.
Carrow Road also has a different feel to it now, because Norwich have turned this one around. Josh Sargent turning provider this time. His low cross converted by Borja Sainz from close range. It is Norwich 2, Blackburn 1.
Norrie is down with a touch of cramp, as Bukayo Saka is going to be replaced by Leandro Trossard for Arsenal. Whilst that change happens, we'll go to St James's Park. John Bennett.
Newcastle 1, Southampton 0. Southampton dominating the ball against 10 men, but struggling to create chances. Their new signing Cameron Archer is on up front. Newcastle 1, Southampton 0.
The 2 results in League 1 earlier. Charlton beat Leyton Orient by 1-0. Shrewsbury 1, Peterborough United 4. Latest scores: Blackpool 0, Stockport 1. Cambridge and Crawley goalless at the Abbey Stadium. Huddersfield leads Stevenage 2-0. Lincoln 1, Barnsley 2. Mansfield 2, Burton 2. Northampton 1, Exeter City 1. Reading leading Wigan by 2-0. No goals between Rotherham and Bristol Rovers. Wycombe 1, Birmingham City 2. So Birmingham City have come from behind to lead that game. To Goodison Park in the Premier League, Mas Faruqi.
77 minutes played. Grey clouds overhead, mirroring the atmosphere in the stands here at Goodison. Calvert-Lewin been taken off as well. Sub for Beto. Sean Dyche trying everything, but the 10 men not looking likely to come back into this. Still Everton 0, Brighton 2.
Saka, as he makes his way around the pitch, is getting a lovely ovation from this sellout crowd in the sunshine here in North London by the Arsenal support into the Championship. The latest scores, the results earlier: Derby 1, Middlesbrough 0, Portsmouth 0, the 10 men of Luton 0, West Bromwich Albion 0, Leeds United 0. Leeds United's slow start to the season continues. Latest scores: Bristol City 3, Millwall 3, Burnley 3, Cardiff 0, Norwich 2, Blackburn 1, Plymouth 1, Hull City 1, Sheffield United 2, Queen's Park Rangers 1, Swansea lead Preston by 2-0, and Watford are 3-0 up at home to Stoke City. As we will go to Pat Murphy at Nottingham Forest.
It's still Forest 1, Bournemouth 0, but Bournemouth getting more and more energised now. They're about to bring on their 4th substitute in the second half. Tavernier, a shot 25 yards straight at the keeper. Newcastle 1, Bournemouth 0.
Colchester United have just taken the lead at home to MK Dons in League 2. Wolves are going to be making a change. Sarabia is the player who's going to be coming on for what will be his 50th appearance for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Arsenal 2-0 up. Partey passes the ball back. White midway through his own half, closed down by Cunha to Saliba. Gabriel creates a little bit of room. In fact, it's going to be a double change. We're also going to be seeing Chiquinho coming on. His last appearance for Wolves was May 2022 for Chiquinho, who's had a dreadful time with injury during his Wolves career. Northampton 2, Exeter 1 is the latest score in League 1. Remember, in the Premier League, Ipswich 0, Liverpool 2. Winning start for Arne Slot. Everton 0, Brighton 2. Newcastle down to 10 men lead Southampton 1-0. Forest 1, Bournemouth 0, as we've heard there from Pat. And there's a stoppage here. Again, another touch of cramp. Declan Rice is the player down. Let's get an update in the cricket. Melissa Story.
Well, the London Spirit, they need 14 runs to win from just 20 balls. They are easing their way into the final against Welsh Fire tomorrow. The Australian Georgia Redmayne been the anchor for this run chase. She's 46 not out and ably supported by the England captain Heather Knight with 27 not out. So 13 balls now needed, 20 balls left.
Commentary on Sports Extra live on BBC 2. Grimsby Town 2, Cheltenham 2. Matty Taylor's just equalised for Cheltenham. A triple change in the offing for Wolverhampton.
Yeah, he's just bringing him on now. Looks like Larsson, number 9, the striker on his debut. Looks like he's going to be coming off.
Albin Chiquinho then to replace the Norwegian, Jorgen Strand Larsen. Craig Dawson is waiting to come on. Sarabia, the other player going off is João Gomez. So Pablo Sarabia, Spanish international, for his 50th appearance, comes on for João Gomez. And then Craig Dawson, 28 appearances last season, is going to come on for that 3rd and final change being made, and it'll be Ait-Nouri who is the player going off. We've mentioned that he'd been struggling with a touch of cramp. Arsenal likewise are going to be making a change, and Gabriel Jesus is going to be coming on for the closing 6 minutes as Arsenal still lead by 2-0. Swansea City 3, Preston 0 is the latest in the Championship. Birmingham have got a 3rd at Wycombe in League 1. Wycombe 1, Birmingham City 3. And Declan Rice is the player to come off. So what, Havertz just to drop a bit deeper?
Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it? I mean, Mikel Arteta spoke very, very highly of Gabriel Jesus and how his pre-season's gone. Said he looks fit, looks sharp, looks hungry for goals. Said he was pressing for a start today. Interesting substitution though. Declan Rice coming off with cramp. Look, walking off very, very gingerly. Gabriel Jesus coming on in place. So as you would think, Kai Havertz will probably drop that little bit deeper, and Jesus will play as that out-and-out number 9.
Well, the free kick waits to be taken for Wolves, trailing by 2-0. Sports Report on its way at 5 o'clock. You've got Sarabia or Podence to take it for Wolves. Arsenal have got a line of red and white shirts on the edge of their penalty area, almost in the shadows now of this stand, on the stand to our right as it curls its way towards the far post. Good commanding take by Raya. Let's get news of that 3rd goal for Swansea from Molly Stevens.
Swansea 3, Preston 0, and it looks like there's no way back now for managerless Preston. Substitute Jan Vipotnik with Swansea's 3rd off his left foot right into the middle of the net, and Mike Marsh is scratching his head here, I must admit. Swansea 3, Preston 0.
Mike Marsh, the caretaker manager for Preston after Ryan Lowe left last week. Jesus picks it up here for Arsenal, leading 2-0. Space had opened up for White towards the right. Jesus held on to the ball, and then they go back towards the halfway line. Now in the Championship it was Sheffield United 2, Queen's Park Rangers 1. But as Jesus comes forward, Jesus thought about the shot, and then he's held on to the ball against all the odds, and Arsenal go back. But there's been a sending off at Bramall Lane. Charlie.
There has. That's still the score, 83 on the clock, but QPR are going to finish the game with 10 men. The substitute, Gat Colback, has been sent off for 2 yellows, both of them for dissent. The first one, he asked for a player to be booked. The second one, he said something to the fourth official. It's still 2-1, QPR down to 10.
Sheffield United looking to maintain their excellent start to the season under Chris Wilder. So the ball goes back to Sarr. Doherty plays it down the line on this near side, the right. Sarabia. That second goal completely changed it, because up until that point, Wolves were certainly in it and playing with a real belief.
Killed the game, didn't it, for a neutral? From an Arsenal point of view, it made the last 15 minutes very comfortable.
Well, Hwang's just gone down there. The referee, Jared Gillett, says no. Apoplectic is Gary O'Neill. He's been told to calm down by the fourth official, Gavin Ward.
He can see flashbacks of last season and VAR and how VAR treated Wolves last season. I think Wolves would have had a lot more points last season if VAR would have ruled correctly in their favour at certain times. Referee now wandering over. Have a word with Gary O'Neill. I think he's the next one in the book.
He is. He's been booked, and sarcastically he puts his thumb up on his from his left hand. But Gary O'Neill, who certainly fell foul of the officials last season. Wolves as a club actually were anti-VAR, weren't they?
They tried to stop it, didn't they?
Yeah.
He's raging, he's absolutely seething.
But it seemed more in it just a coming together. I mean, again, we don't have the benefit of a replay, but it just seemed like a coming together.
He was so convinced, though. He's at touchline level, and he's very, very close. The incident was in this area, this side of the penalty area. And I mean, for him to be that animated, I suspect there's a little bit of frustration as well there from the manager with his team 2-0 down. And he obviously does feel hard done to, and he started a new season. You can just imagine what's going around in his head. Oh, not VAR again.
Yeah, well, he'll have had a chance to look at it. He's got a little monitor. He did sit down momentarily.
And he's gone straight to the fourth official. Well,
nothing in it, we're told from the studio, who do have the benefits of the match of the day pictures, which of course is on tonight, BBC One at 10:20. However, Gary O'Neill is still complaining to the fourth official. Free kick to Wolves, and a yellow card has just been shown to Gabriel Jesus for Arsenal. There will be quite a bit of added on time given the amount of substitutions that we've had. Dundee 5, Airdrie 1 in the Scottish League Cup second round. Bristol City 4, Millwall 3, and a real topsy-turvy game in the Championship at Ashton Gate. Millwall at one stage were 2-0 down, then they were leading 3-2, but Bristol City are back in control. Cambridge 0, Crawley 1, late goal for Crawley at the Abbey Stadium in League One. What's happening at Goodison, Mas Faruqi?
More late subs for Everton. Mason Holgate coming on as well, but in truth this result beyond any doubt. Everton offering nothing now, the 10 men. Everton 0, Brighton 2, 84 minutes played.
Martinelli operating on the right, does the step over for Arsenal, enters the penalty area, can't get the cut back across. There were 2 Wolves players with him. He does go to ground, and he gets a free kick down by the byline on that right-hand side of the penalty area. We'll try and bring you as much live reaction as we can in Sports Report before our next commentary. West Ham against Aston Villa at 5:30. John Murray and Steve Sidwell. And don't forget, tomorrow, 5 Live Premier League Sunday, Brentford Crystal Palace at 2 and Chelsea Manchester City at 4:30. And then the Monday Night Club at 7 o'clock on Monday. We'll analyse all the weekend's action from this match day 1 of the new Premier League season here on BBC Radio 5 Live, who will always have more live Premier League commentaries than anyone else throughout the course of the season ahead. But we're 30 seconds remaining of the 90. Arsenal lead by 2-0. Newcastle still lead Southampton 1-0 in that delayed game. Forest are 1-0 up at home to Bournemouth. Free kick though to Arsenal on that far side, the right. Blackpool 0, Stockport County 2 is the latest score in League One. It's Ødegaard who's going to take it. He curls it in now, headed out of the near post by Dawson. A goal at Goodison. Mas Faruqi.
It was already not in doubt, but Brighton have a third. Seaman Adingra with the goal. 87 minutes played. 10-man Everton 0, Brighton 3.
Good start for Fabian Öztürk, their new manager, as there's going to be 5 minutes of added on time. Martinelli tees at Partey, lets it run through. Trossard can't get the shot away. Arsenal, though, are threatening now as they lead by 2-0, just trying to put a little bit of gloss on it. Martinelli can't get his way through. It might go behind for a corner kick, and indeed it will. They scored their most goals in 71 years last season, and they're still looking for more here.
Played well, Arsenal, in patches. There's that one part in the game in the second half where you thought Wolves were just creeping back into it, but Arsenal they reasserted their dominance, got that second goal, and since that second goal's gone in, there's been absolutely no doubt about the result this afternoon.
Let's squeeze in a quick update from John Bennett at Newcastle.
Newcastle 1, Southampton 0. So close to an equaliser for Southampton, though. A header saved. Alcaraz with the header, Pope with the save. Newcastle 1, Southampton 0.
Thank you, John. Corner kick, Ødegaard to take it on this near side, the left. Wolves again have got everybody back inside their penalty area as the sun continues to shine here in North London. Queen's Park Rangers, I think, have got an equaliser at Bramall Lane. In it comes, headed out by Dawson. Ødegaard heads the ball out towards Trossard. Cunha gets there first to clear it for Wolves, but White was in a central area to head it back towards the penalty area. So let's get news of that QPR equaliser. Down to 10 men, remember, Charlie Slater.
But they don't mind because they are level with 88 on the clock. Sheffield United 2, QPR 2. Lyndon Dykes off the bench, might well be his first touch from 10 yards, sweeps it into the bottom corner. 2-2.
Wolves are attacking. We're into stoppage time at the Emirates. Doherty forward on the run inside the penalty area. His header off target. Paul.
They've had a go in the second half, Wolves, haven't they? There's one thing you can say about them. Whatever Gary O'Neill said to them at half-time, put belief into his side. They pressed higher up the field and they caused Arsenal a few problems. They created a couple of chances, but you've got to give Arsenal credit for the way that they managed the game. They went down the other end, they got the second goal, and they made the last 15 minutes of this game very, very comfortable for themselves. This was never going to be a season-defining fixture for Wolves. Gary O'Neill needed to come away from here not to be scarred with a performance, not to get well beaten. He won't say it, but internally he'll be thinking, right, we'll get this one out the way. Away at Arsenal, we're not really going to get anything. If we get anything, it's a bonus. Get that game out the way, and what he's got from his team is a performance. They've not been well beaten. The goalkeeper's not been flying all over, making saves, shots on target. They've given an excellent account of themselves. They've created chances. Gary O'Neill will take a lot of positives from this game. They need to build on that now going forward.
That's the analysis from Paul Robinson live on BBC Radio 5 Live as Sam Vokes has got a late goal for Wickham. Wickham 2, Birmingham City 3 is the latest in League One. Arsenal leading 2-0. Goes out of play for a throw off the legs of Mosquera. Goal at Norwich, Paul Scott.
It is Norwich 2, Blackburn 2, 3 minutes to go, and Rovers are level. Callum Britton with a cross from the right, headed home by summer signing and substitute Yuki Ohashi. It is Norwich 2, Blackburn 2.
Cunha forward for Wolves. Can he set up a nervous finish with his cross? As Sarabia hit a volley left-footed that almost in slow motion was parried away by Raya.
It was as well, wasn't it? It looked slow motion, but what's happened there? It's come out to Sarabia and he's hit it with his left foot and he hasn't quite caught it. It's come off the top of his foot. The goalkeeper's instinct, you see it immediately. So the goalkeeper thinks he's caught it clean and he hasn't. So David Raya's gone flying off to his left, actually come off the top of his foot and just floated. So David Raya's really done well to adjust his shelf.
In comes the corner for Wolves. Dawson tries to flick it at the near post, comes to Totti, scrambling around inside that near side of the 6-yard box, goes behind for a goal kick. Wolves protest as Burnley have got another goal, Shojo Saka.
Yeah, Burnley hit 4 goals in 2 games in a row. Burnley 4, Cardiff 0. Zeki Amdouni off the bench, won the ball in midfield brilliantly and unleashed a ferocious shot off the underside of the bar. Spectacular stuff. Burnley 4, Cardiff 0.
Plymouth 1, Hull City 1 is how it's finished. That's a result in the Championship. Dundee have beaten Airdrie 6-1 in the Scottish League Cup, and there's been a goal at Everton, Mas Faruqi.
And the stand's emptying here. It's a 4th for Brighton. He's only been on the pitch a matter of seconds, but Yazan Ayari at the end of a run forward from Brighton with a tiring Everton defence. Everton 0, Brighton 4, and we've still got 8 minutes rather of stoppage time to play here.
Grimsby 3, Cheltenham 2 is the latest score in League 2. Grimsby have grabbed an injury time winner, and there's been a late goal at Huddersfield in League 1. Ellen Ellard.
Huddersfield 2, Stevenage 1. It's from the penalty spot. Harvey White stepping up after Lee Lickles came off his line to try and punch away the ball. The referee pointed to the spot. Harvey White converted. It's Huddersfield 2, Stevenage 1.
Wolves are attacking left-hand side. 5 Live, the World Service and BBC Sounds. They're trailing by 2-0 as the ball is played up towards Podence. Dawson tries to keep it alive for Wolves on the edge of the area. Podence hits it first time, and it's swerving away off his left boot, out of goal, and out it goes for a goal kick. And there is the full-time whistle, as we'll quickly go to Aberdeen, where there's been a late goal. Kenny Crawford.
Yeah, deep into added time, Ian. 92 minutes, Aberdeen 1, Queen's Park 0. Topi Keskinen, the Finnish winger, making his debut today, left-footed into the top left-hand corner. It looks like the Dons are going into the quarter-final of the Scottish League Cup.
Colchester 2, MK Dons is the latest in League 2, but it's finished here at Molineux. Arsenal have beaten Wolves by 2-0 and a deserved win for Mikel Arteta's side, Paul Robinson.
Very much so. Slight little period of worry for them in the second half when Wolves started well, but all in all, when you analyse the game as a whole, Arsenal dominated it. They looked very, very comfortable in the first half, broke the press really well, passing out from the back, and they picked up from where they left off at the end of last season. A comfortable home win from an Arsenal point of view. Wolves manager Gary O'Neill won't be too disappointed with the way that his team played. Give a better account of themselves in the second half. They weren't overawed by this Arsenal team, but it's a really good start for Mikel Arteta and his Arsenal side.
There was that spell that Paul talked about where Wolves were threatening an equaliser after that Havertz header after 25 minutes, but that Saka goal 16 minutes from time secured the 3 points for Arsenal. Full time at the Emirates. Arsenal 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0.